After dying of illness, I was reborn 1 month before I was supposed to marry Zhou Qian. In this life, I no longer cared that he openly moved his late best friend's widow into our marital home, nor did I mind that his own sister kept calling Fu Huan sister-in-law. I applied to my superiors to cancel the marriage and agreed to the assignment to go work in the countryside. A year later, he finally found me, only to see me on the back of a male-educated youth's bicycle. My face beaming with a radiant smile, amidst the voices of those around us praising what a perfect match we were. Zhou Qian, with red-rimmed eyes, shakily produced the marriage report I had torn to pieces. Jirui, when will we go get our marriage license? Xiao Shen, your sweetheart is back. At the mouth of the alley, Auntie Zhu informed me with great enthusiasm, her eyes holding a touch of pity and sympathy by the end. In my past life, I hadn't understood what that look in her eyes meant. But now, having been reborn, I understood it perfectly. Not only had Zhou Qian returned, but he had also brought back his late brother's widow. Word had it that his brother had contracted an illness during a free medical outreach. It came on fast, and he died suddenly. His final wish before passing was to beg Zhou Qian to look after his wife and daughter. As someone who had been through it all, Auntie Zhu could already foresee just how bitter the rest of my life would be. I simply smiled back at her in response. I want to say, rest assured, I will never force myself to swallow this half-baked mess again in this lifetime. I didn't go to greet Zhou Qian, because I knew he wouldn't come home first. He was busy finding a comfortable place for Fu Huan and her daughter to stay. He ran around all day for this. He had found a few decent places, but Fu Huan found fault with and rejected every single one of them for various reasons, left with no other choice. Zhou Qian could only bring Fu Huan and her daughter back to his own place. I will always remember my past life, the feeling of standing at the mouth of the alley, eagerly awaiting his return, yet all I saw was the three of them walking side by side, intimate as a family of three returning home. Looking back now, that day marked the beginning of my long, tormented life to come. In my past life, love blinded me. I was willing to endure Fu Huan and her daughter, all to marry Zhou Qian and fulfill the longing of my youth. After we got married, I naturally took on the duties of a wife, managing the household and devoting myself to caring for him and his entire family. His parents were chronically ill and needed constant care, while his younger sister was spoiled, willful, and always getting into trouble. Even before we were married, I often felt for Zhou Qian. It pained me to see such a capable man held back by his family, unable to advance or progress in his career. So after the wedding, I became his supportive partner, handling things at home so he could focus on his work. I managed everything at home, sacrificing myself to pave the way for his steady rise. In the first year, he felt for me, was full of guilt, and often shared heartfelt words to express his love. By the second year, he grew accustomed to it, and he and his whole family began to take my efforts for granted. In the third and fourth years, the money he sent home dwindled. I was worn out, juggling household chores with odd jobs to make ends meet. If I hadn't been pregnant, I would have wanted to tell him the good news in person. Sneaking over to his workplace to see him, I might never have found out that Zhou Qian had taken Fu Huan and her daughter into his dormitory, where the three of them had been living together for 2 years. The dwindling remittances and food ration coupons over the years had all gone to support Fu Huan and her daughter. At the time, I lost all reason and caused a huge scene at his workplace. A crowd had gathered to watch the spectacle. As the situation grew increasingly dire for Fu Huan, her daughter rushed over and shoved me violently. She pushed me down the stairs. The floor was stained red with blood. I lost my baby. When I came to, my first thought was to file for divorce. Zhou Qian got down on his knees, begging me to stay. He said he had sent Fu Huan and her daughter away, pleading for a chance to make things right. He even wanted us to have another child together. My heart softened, and I forgave him just like that, a decision that set the stage for the misery of my later years. It wasn't until over a decade later, when I stumbled upon Fu Huan's daughter's graduation speech online, as she introduced her parents to the audience. The faces that appeared on screen were Fu Huan and Zhou Qian. It was only then that I realized Zhou Qian had remained intimately involved in their lives all these years, even stepping into the role of a father figure for their family. While I was grieving the loss of our child in utter agony, he was busy finding a new home for Fu Huan and her daughter, meticulously arranging every aspect of their daily lives. All the while I was exhausting myself managing our household and caring for his parents and sister. He devoted every last ounce of his energy to doting on and looking after Fu Huan and her daughter. While I was scrimping on even a single extra piece of meat to save money for the family, he took Fu Huan and her daughter to a state-run restaurant, splurging on a lavish feast with his newly received bonus. Their lives were blissful, harmonious, and flourishing. I was left alone, covered in dust. My hair turning white, wrinkles etching my face, and my back bent under the weight of endless, daily toil. Given a second chance at life, I refuse to live like that again. Zhou Qian, I don't want you anymore. In my past life, I quit my job not long after getting married. My boss lamented it for a moment, repeatedly saying what a waste of my talent it was. But back then, I was so caught up in the idea of family that I didn't give a single thought to my own future. In this life, I will not give up my career again. I told my boss that I'm not getting married. I even volunteered to take on a transfer assignment to another location. My boss was a bit surprised, not expecting me, who was so focused on the wedding not long ago, to change my mind so quickly. He didn't say anything more. Since I was hardworking and willing to stay on at the company, it was a happy outcome for everyone. After leaving work, I went to the street and bought a few sugar buns. I've never been one for meat-filled buns, but in my past life, I spent a lifetime buying them for Zhou Qian to suit his taste. Perhaps he never knew, even to his dying day, that my favorite was always the sugar buns. By the time I headed home, it was already dark. From a distance, I could see someone standing at my front door. He was tall and slender, with a ramrod-straight posture. I turned my head, and sure enough, it was Zhou Qian. When he saw me, he seemed to be waiting for something. In the past, when he returned from a business trip, I would have rushed to him, my face beaming with joy, but now, I just stood there, watching him coldly. He was stunned for a moment, then spoke. "You're back." He watched me brush past him, take out a key, and open the door. He didn't even spare him a glance. "Do you need something?" The man hesitated for a moment, then confessed. "Jianhua passed away. He left behind a daughter with no one to care for her. He was my only true brother. So his daughter is like my own. We're getting married soon, and I thought I should get your opinion on this," he went on. "I want to bring them here to take care of them." I caught his choice of words, them. Zhou Qian also seemed a bit embarrassed and began to explain in a flustered hurry. Tian is still young, after all, and can't be apart from her mother, so, I brought both of them, the mother and daughter, over together. What he meant was, it's not enough to just look after the child. We need to bring her mother here to take care of as well. Is Fu Huan, a grown adult with all her faculties, really incapable of earning a living and supporting herself? When I left him, I was naturally consumed by every little thing, but now, my heart is as still as water. I said to him, "That's your own business, you don't need to tell me." The coldness in my tone made Zhou Qian frown. "What do you mean by that?" he said. "We're about to get married. Of course some things should be discussed together." His words sounded so righteous. But if he truly wanted my opinion, he wouldn't have brought that person home without a word. The die is cast. How could I possibly turn a widow and her child out onto the street now? In the darkness, I wanted to hurry him along, but then I noticed something. When I opened the door earlier, the packet of sugar I'd left on the shelf was gone. Wang Tian hid behind Zhou Qian, wolfing down the steamed bun. Tian. When did you get here? Fu Huan hurried over at the sound. She seemed to have dressed up meticulously, and even the breeze she stirred carried a sweet fragrance. It seemed that, in her eyes, this was our first meeting, and she couldn't afford to lose face. "Sorry, Brother Qian, the child sneaked out on her own. I hope we're not disturbing you and Sister Shen." "Hey, where did you get that bun? You'll get a stomachache if you're not careful." She snatched the bag from Wan Tiantian's hand and threw it on the ground. I suppressed my anger. I waited in line for an hour to get that sugar bun. Fu Huan's face flushed with embarrassment, and she let out an awkward, forced chuckle. "Oh, it was from Sister Shen. My Tian usually doesn't eat food from outsiders. Her stomach is quite sensitive. You'd better not keep giving her snacks in the future." "Well, I suppose that makes it my fault." Then, I let out a scornful laugh. "I left those buns right there on the shelf. How did they end up in her mouth? Taking someone else's things without permission and eating them? What kind of parenting is that?" After my sarcastic remark, Fu Huan immediately turned to Zhou Qian with a pitiful, wronged look. Her pitiful expression was genuinely moving. "Enough, they're just a couple of buns. Jirue, since when have you become so petty, picking on a child like this?" They instantly formed a united front, treating me as if I were the enemy. In my past life, Zhou Qian did this many times, standing firmly in front of Fu Huan and her mother, casting me as the adversary, and using a tone of condemnation and emotional blackmail to force my compliance and tolerance. I put up with enough in my last life. There's no way I'm going to swallow my anger this time. The act of stealing might seem minor, But it reveals a person's true character. You can judge someone's integrity by the small things. You could argue the child is too young to know better, but if the adult knows it's wrong and fails to correct them, that's what truly ruins the child. Isn't Zhou Qiyan the one who prides himself on being an intellectual, always lecturing others and shutting me down with his high-minded principles? Well, I'll use his own tactics against him. Sure enough, upon hearing my words, Zhou Qian's expression faltered for a moment before he turned his gaze to Fu Huan. I remember giving you money. Didn't you buy the child any food? How could she be so hungry that she had to go out and take food from others? Fu Huan bit her lip in frustration and lowered her head. I'm sorry, Brother Qiyan. I slammed the door shut with a bang, cutting off the noise from outside. Whatever happens to them is none of my concern. The next day, I went to the office again. My supervisor informed me that my transfer papers had come through and told me to hurry and buy a train ticket. The transfer was rather sudden, and the conditions there would be quite tough. However, the unit promised me a promotion and a raise once the 3-year term was up. I accepted gladly. It wasn't really about the compensation. I'd be perfectly content just to get far away from Zhou Qian's whole family and never have to see their dirty business again. That day, I left home early to buy the ticket. I never expected to run into the 3 of them at the mouth of the alley. All looking like they were in a hurry. Zhou Qiyan was with Fu Huan, and they were carrying Wang Tian, whose face was twisted in pain. I tried to avoid them, but Fu Huan blocked my path and was the first to speak. It was you, wasn't it? Just because the child stole a couple of your buns yesterday, you held a grudge and fed her something filthy. Now Tian is vomiting and has diarrhea. Are you happy now? Utterly unreasonable. Faced with her accusation, I retorted impatiently. What's that got to do with me? I haven't even seen her today. Getting the ticket was the priority. Just as I was about to leave this troublesome place, someone wouldn't let it go. Zhou Qiyan gripped my wrist tightly, looking every bit the picture of righteous integrity. Come with me. If you're truly the one who poisoned the child to this state, you'll have to take full responsibility. He then shot me a cold glance. His eyes filled with disappointment. Zhou Qiyan, let go of me. What right do you have to restrict my freedom of movement? The man was very strong and practically forced me to go to the hospital. Wang Tian was having her stomach pumped at the hospital. Fu Huan was sobbing, her frail shoulders trembling. Zhou Qiyan gently patted her shoulder to comfort her. They didn't even bother to hide such an intimate gesture from others. He hasn't even called off the engagement with me yet. The sight of it just makes me sneer. What a despicable pair, Sister Shen. I don't know how I've offended you. She's my only daughter, the light of my life. Why would you do something so cruel? I've just lost my husband. If anything happens to my daughter, I won't have anything left to live for. Fu Huan stared at me with tear-filled eyes, her tone all but accusing me of being the one who poisoned her daughter. I watched her coldly, not uttering a single word. There's no point in talking to an idiot. Your silence is an admission of guilt. Shen Jirue, I never thought you'd become this kind of person. I'm so disappointed in you. I'm taking you to the police station right now. Zhou Qiyan was seething with rage. He never could have imagined that his fiancée, whom he had always seen as gentle and sensible, could be so venomous, even if she was jealous of her fiancé's kindness towards another woman. She shouldn't have resorted to such despicable means to harm someone. It seems she really needs to be taught a lesson. Zhou Qiyan was determined to send me to prison to reflect on my actions. Little did he expect, the police had already arrived at the hospital. Who called the police? I did, earlier. I secretly asked a passing nurse to call the police for me. I stepped past Zhou Qiyan, pointed at the 2 of them, and said, they're falsely accusing me of poisoning someone and restricting my freedom. Let's take this straight to the police station. The child's stomach has been pumped and is fine now. When they brought her to the police station, it was the first time she'd ever seen such a serious scene, and she was so scared she burst into tears. The police only had to question her a couple of times before the little girl cracked under the pressure and confessed. She had sneaked out on her own and accidentally eaten some spoiled bread that someone had left in the yard. The innocent family that got dragged into this was also getting an earful at the police station. They insisted they had clearly locked the main gate, so any blame shouldn't fall on them. It was then that Zhou Qiyan stepped forward, his face pale and his eyes filled with guilt. I didn't know you were innocent. I'm sorry. Only then did he notice my wrist. Red and swollen from his violent tugging, he was about to take my hand to massage it. I slapped him right across the face. I struck Zhou Qiyan so hard he staggered. Before anyone could react, I slapped Fu Huan right beside him. You wronged me. Consider those 2 slaps my payback. What gives you the right to slander and defame me without a shred of evidence? I then turned to Fu Huan and said, If you don't start teaching your daughter not to steal food, she might just eat herself to death one of these days. Running into this nonsense in broad daylight is just plain bad luck. I've already missed the window to go buy my train ticket. After going to the office to get my reporting date postponed with my supervisor, I headed home. At the doorway, I saw two unexpected people. It was Zhou Xiaoyuan and her homeroom teacher. Just as I was about to pretend I hadn't seen them and walk past, her teacher called out to me, "Ms. Shen. Xiaoyuan has gotten into trouble at school again, you see." I sighed and said, "Ms. Li, Zhou Xiaoyuan is Zhou Qian's biological sister, not mine. From now on, if she has any issues, you should go to her brother. Although Zhou Qian and I aren't married yet, we're close and engaged. It's just assumed that I'll handle many of his family's affairs. This is especially true for Zhou Xiaoyuan. Every time she gets into trouble, I'm the one who goes to the school to clean up the mess. In my past life, I spent a lifetime acting as her nanny, and I got nothing but grief for it, along with her endless contempt. In this life, I'll keep my distance, as far away as possible. I want absolutely nothing to do with that whole family's business." With that, I shut the door firmly, leaving them no chance to bother me. I'll have to ask someone to check about the train tickets again tomorrow. You never know. Someone might still cancel, and the price is negotiable. In short, I want to get out of this place as soon as possible. I slept until dusk. When I was woken by the sound of an argument outside, I opened the window and looked out. At the mouth of the alley, the figures of Zhou Qian and Fu Huan were locked in a tense struggle. "Brother Qian, I think I should just leave. Sister Shen definitely has a problem with me. You saw how she hit me today. If I really stay here, who knows how much more of this I'll have to put up with. I'd rather work myself to the bone than swallow this kind of humiliation." The woman held her child's hand, crying and insisting she was leaving, yet her feet remained firmly planted. She didn't look like she was going anywhere. I only said I was leaving to make Zhou Qian come find me and settle the score for that slap. Her tactic of retreating in order to advance is exactly the same as it was in her past life. Zhou Qian grabbed her arm. "Fu Huan, Jiruwei just acted on impulse today. After all, we did wrong her first. You're a woman with no job and a child to look after. Where could you possibly go? I promised Jianhua I'd take good care of you both. Just stay here and don't worry. I'll talk to Jiruwei." I drew the curtains and went back to packing my bags. Roughly an hour later, there was a knock at my door. At the door stood Zhou Qian, holding a bag of fruit. He smiled at me and called my name. "Jiruwei, I came to have a chat with you." He tried to sidle his way into the room, but I stood firm in the doorway, blocking his path. "Whatever you have to say, you can say it right here." My tone was cold. After all, we're not married yet. A man and a woman alone in a room, it wouldn't look proper. In the moonlight, Zhou Qian's handsome face looked just as it always had, still bearing the red handprint I'd left on it that afternoon. He massaged his forehead and sighed. "Are you still angry that I brought Fu Huan and her daughter home?" Zhou Qian spoke with earnest sincerity. "Jiruwei, you're an educated, cultured person. I always thought you were the most reasonable one." I shot back at him without holding back. "Zhou Qian, you're overthinking it. I told you long ago, your decisions have nothing to do with me." It seemed my cold demeanor had provoked him, as Zhou Qian hurriedly stated his purpose for coming. "I've already sent them away. They won't come to bother us again. One moment you were begging them to stay by the roadside, and the next you're sending them away." I raised an eyebrow, looking at him with some surprise. Zhou Qian seemed to be making a declaration to me. "I know that we are the ones who will be husband and wife in the future. What are two outsiders doing here for no reason? Don't worry, I'm not that foolish." So now he's suddenly the picture of clarity and reason. I wonder who it was in his past life who spent a lifetime worrying himself sick over that mother and daughter. Seeing my expression soften, Zhou Qian paused for a moment before speaking. "It's just, I must see them properly settled first. Only then can I live up to Jianhua's final wishes. Jiruwei, could we postpone our wedding for now?" Noticing the flicker of mockery in my eyes, he launched into a rapid-fire explanation. "We're just telling people it's called off. But it's really just postponed, I promise you. I will marry you. It's just that Fu Huan and her mother have no one to rely on. They need a man to help them get settled into a new life. Once I help her find a job, I'll wash my hands of them completely and come back to marry you." Alright, I understood what he was getting at. He wanted to devote himself wholeheartedly to helping Fu Huan start her new life, but for a man with no real connection to her to take on that role was, in the end, inappropriate, especially when he was already engaged. If they get too close, the back and forth will fuel rumors that could drown a person, so he has to break off our engagement first, to cut ties with me cleanly. Only then can he openly stand by their side, ready to serve their every need. Zhou Qian, you truly are as devoted to them as ever, even across 2 lifetimes. He had a whole basket full of arguments prepared to persuade me, but before he could utter another word, he saw me give a light, indifferent nod. All right. Zhou Qian let out a sigh of relief and said with warmth, Jirue, I knew you were always reasonable and kind-hearted. I turned and went inside the room, retrieving a jade bracelet. I wrapped it carefully in cloth, placed it in a jewelry box, and handed it to Zhou Qian. This jade bracelet was given to me by your grandmother as a token of our family's engagement. I'm returning it to you. Now, please give me back my mother's necklace. Go and get it now. Zhou Qian was speechless for a moment. There's no need for all this, he said. It's just a pretense of calling off the engagement. We're still going to get married in the end. I laughed. If we're putting on a show, we have to do it properly. What if someone outside the family sees my necklace at your place one day, and then you go around saying we're not getting married? How would we explain that? Just give it back to me. All right, I'll go get it, he agreed, watching his hurried departure. I couldn't quite put my finger on the strange mix of feelings in my heart. I wanted to shield her from the storm, yet feared the gossip and rumors outside would wound her. I never imagined Zhou Qian would go this far for Fu Huan. It seems his love for Fu Huan is the real deal. Thinking of my past life, I toiled away at home for him my entire life, yet received so little in return. I'm filled with nothing but bitterness and regret. How could I have wasted my whole life on him? What a fool I was. The next day, I made a point of going to the entrance of the alley to chat with Auntie Zhu, who was just returning from the market. I often tutor her grandson, so she always greets me with a smile and says, Xiao Shen, off to see your fiancé. I quickly made a gesture for her to stop. Auntie, please don't say that. Zhou Qian and I have called off our engagement. Please don't associate me with him anymore. I still have to get married someday. Aunt Zhu's expression turned serious instantly. What happened? I just saw you buying things for the wedding not long ago. I shook my head helplessly. Matters of the heart are hard to explain. We just weren't meant to be. From now on, we'll go our separate ways and live our own lives. I'm off to work now. Goodbye, Auntie. Seeing me hurry off with my bag, Auntie Zhu was left standing there, trying to process it all. After a long pause, she muttered under her breath, that mother and daughter are something else. They just got here and already sweet-talked the man into ditching his fiancée. What a sin. I'm sure it won't take a day for the news about Zhou Qian and me calling off the wedding to spread through the entire neighborhood. Zhou Qian thinks we've only called off the engagement for now. But I, Shin Jirue, never looked back. When I got to the office, I learned the train ticket issue had been sorted out. Several other comrades are going to the countryside with me. One of them has a car, so I can just catch a ride. We're setting off in a few days. The comrade who's driving came to let me know and arrange the time and place for our departure. I took out some money and tried to press it into his hand, but he firmly refused. The man, named Meng Huai, smiled and said, Comrade Shen, we're all here together for the Rural Development Project, serving our country. We're colleagues and comrades in arms. Offering money makes it seem like we're strangers. I felt a bit embarrassed and was about to express my thanks again when a sharp voice cut through our conversation. Shin Jirue. I glanced sideways. It was Fu Huan. Had she really chased me all the way to my workplace? Well, Comrade Shen, I'll take my leave now. Please get ready as soon as possible. Meng Huai took the hint and said his goodbyes. I can't imagine what Fu Huan wants from me. Is she here to settle the score for that slap? She glared at me, gnashing her teeth. Brother Qian kicked us out, my mother and me. Are you happy now? We don't even have a place to stay. Faced with her aggressive posturing, I remained perfectly calm. He's the one who threw you out, not me. Why are you yelling at me? She screamed hysterically. But he's making us move because of you. I've already lost my husband, and now he's my only hope. Why are you trying to drive us into a corner? Seeing her in such a hysterical state, I couldn't help but feel a pang of pity for her. From what I know, Wang Jianhua has parents back in the countryside. Although the family is poor, they still have a couple of acres of land. If they work hard at farming, they can at least scrape by and put food on the table. But Fu Huan looked down on that option. Instead of taking her daughter back to her biological in-laws, she clung stubbornly to another woman's fiancé. Admittedly, she succeeded in her previous life. She truly latched onto Zhou Qian like a sturdy tree, letting him shelter her and her daughter from life's storms for a lifetime. But it was only because I had settled the Zhou family affairs for him that he had the energy to protect them. Her so-called happy and blissful home was built on nothing less than the lifeblood she drained from both Zhou Qian and me. I took out the necklace from my bosom and said to her, Zhou Qian and I called off our engagement last night. I've even taken back the betrothal token, in an instant. Fu Huan's eyes lit up with sheer delight. So, do you get it now? Do you see who you should really be going after? I never had any intention of competing with her. I've suffered enough in my past life. I've been so busy packing and handing over my work these past few days that I've hardly seen Zhou Qian. Life has been surprisingly peaceful for a few days, while taking stock of the items to take with me. I suddenly realized the new shoes my mother made for me were still in the bridal suite I shared with Zhou Qian. That new house had been prepared by his family well in advance. In my past life, thinking we were about to get married anyway, I went ahead and placed the new shoes my mother had stitched inside. They were shoes she had made specifically for my wedding. I have to get those back. After all, my mother made them stitch by stitch, putting a lot of heart and effort into them. There were 2 keys to the new house, one for me and one for Zhou Qian. My plan is to retrieve the shoes, leave my key on the living room table, and then just let Zhou Qian know. What a coincidence. The moment I opened the door, they were all there in the new apartment too. A lavish, steaming hot dinner was laid out on the table. Zhou Qian, Zhou Xiaoyuan, and Wang Tian were all seated together, clearly about to share the meal. Fu Huan emerged from the kitchen carrying a bowl of soup. Sister Shen is here. Perfect timing to join us for dinner. She was beaming with joy, a completely different person from the one who had confronted me in a frenzy that day. It seems you've taken my advice to heart. You've learned that the right approach is to cozy up to Zhou Qian, playing the weak and pitiful card in front of him. Meanwhile, Zhou Xiaoyuan was gleefully calling Fu Huan's sister-in-law, as if she were doing it just for my ears. Fu Huan blushed and squirmed, saying, "You silly child, don't call me that." They were like a close-knit family, while I was the awkward outsider who didn't belong. Jiruwei, we. Zhou Qian stood up uneasily, bumping his leg against the table with a loud thud. He immediately tried to explain himself, but I didn't give him the chance. I walked straight into the room and took out the shoes my mother had made from the cabinet. Then, I placed the keys on the coffee table. I've left the keys here. I glanced into the master bedroom. It was already filled with Fu Huan and her daughter's belongings. She, not I, the former lady of the house, had been the first to claim the room. I even kindly reminded Fu Huan, by the way, the windows in this new place aren't quite secure yet. When the wind picks up at night, remember to prop something against them. And with that, his work was done, and he departed in peace. I hardly seemed to care at all that Zhou Qian had settled them in the new house behind my back. I walked downstairs, and Zhou Qian hurriedly chased after me. Jiruwei, wait, please listen to me. He was panting heavily, a rare sight indeed. It was seldom that one saw Zhou Qian, always so proper and composed, in such a frantic state. Ever the understanding one, I spoke up for him. There's no need to explain, I understand perfectly. You're only letting them stay in our bridal chamber out of pity for the mother and child. You're only attending to their every need because you don't want to fail your sworn brother's dying wish. And you're only calling off our engagement, temporarily, for their sake, because you're a man of honor and thorough consideration. Zhou Qian was rendered speechless. These were all the very words he used to shut me down in our past life. He was trying to detect some trace of anger beneath my calm exterior, but all I showed him was detached indifference, nothing more. Zhou Qian was originally afraid I would be angry, but in this moment, he was more afraid that I wasn't. It seemed he couldn't find a single shred of evidence that I still cared for him. They're only staying here temporarily, they'll move out later. Once I get them settled, we'll get married. I couldn't tell if he was saying it for my benefit, or just to convince himself. We will get married, I promise. But as I was now, I didn't even have the patience to let him finish speaking. All I know is, I'll be out of here by tomorrow afternoon. What awaits me is a new life, one without them. In the middle of the night, a soft, steady rain began to fall outside. Through the steady patter of the rain, I faintly heard the sound of a door opening. My heart skipped a beat. I immediately got up and grabbed the stick by the bedside. Someone had entered the side bedroom and collapsed onto the bed with a thud. Once I saw who it was, I let out a sigh of relief. It was Zhou Xiaoyuan. When she was on holiday, she'd often stay out until the dead of night. She probably avoided her brother's place for fear of getting an earful. After all, Zhou Qian is a rigid, rule-abiding man. If he found out his sister was constantly staying out all night, he'd fly into a rage and give her a proper scolding. Compared to her strict older brother, I, as her future sister-in-law, became her safe haven. Whenever Zhou Xiaoyuan got into trouble, she wouldn't even tell her parents, only daring to come to me, because I would handle everything for her out of respect for Zhou Qiyan, never even uttering a harsh word to her. Now, after another night of wild fun with her classmates who knows where, she was so exhausted she fell asleep the moment her head hit the pillow. I sighed and fished out my house key from her clothes. This house is my uncle and aunt's old place. They kindly let me live here instead of selling it, mainly because it's close to my workplace, but the main reason I chose to stay here is because it's close to Zhou Qian's home. After I leave, I'll write to my uncle and ask them to clear out the house. Once that's done, Zhou Xiaoyuan won't be able to get in either. Fine, let her sleep here one last night. In the dim light, I cautiously noticed that Zhou Xiaoyuan's face was flushed in an unusual way. She had been caught in the rain and looked quite unwell. A touch to her forehead confirmed a raging fever. I immediately felt at a loss. A glance out the window showed a torrential downpour. Going out was simply not an option. I'd better throw on my raincoat and go knock on Zhou Qian's door. Zhou Qiyan, your sister has a fever. Take her to the hospital, quick. I knocked for several minutes straight, until the back of my hand was red and sore. There was no answer. It was Uncle Li from next door who poked his head out. Oh, Xiao Shen, looking for Qiyan. He went out this evening to fix a window at the new place. He's not back yet. My heart sank. I had been counting on Zhou Qiyan having a car to take his sister to the hospital, but he went to the marital home to fix the window for Fu Huan and her daughter. With the rain this heavy, he's definitely staying the night there. Then what about Zhou Xiaoyuan? I put on my raincoat and went back inside. Thunder rumbled outside as rain the size of beans poured down in torrents. The rain was so heavy that going to the hospital was completely out of the question. Besides, I didn't have the strength to drag a teenage girl like Zhou Xiaoyuan anywhere. Left with no other choice, I fetched a basin of water to cool her down and wipe her body. Then I gave her a fever-reducing pill. I stayed by her bedside, tending to her for half the night. Only when her fever broke did I manage to catch a few winks. Dozing off right there at the head of the bed, when I woke the next day, the bed was in disarray, and Zhou Xiaoyuan was already gone. It seemed she had regained her strength and simply left. I glanced at the clock. It was almost noon. I still have a few hours before I need to leave. I quickly boiled some noodles, had a few bites to tide me over, and planned to grab some provisions from the street for the journey later. Unexpectedly, Zhou Qiyan blocked my path. He looked displeased and began to confront me. Did Xiaoyuan have a fever at your place last night? I was taken aback for a moment, then nodded. He stared at me in disbelief. Why on earth didn't you take her to the hospital? The shock on his face made it seem like I'd committed some heinous crime. I was so angry I could only laugh bitterly. It was pouring rain. I don't have a car. It was the middle of the night, the streets were flooding, and there was no one to help. How on earth was I supposed to get her to the hospital? That's no excuse to just abandon her. He seemed deeply disappointed in me, the reprimand rolling off his tongue without a second thought. Seeing his utterly entitled attitude, I really wanted to slap him. She's your sister, not mine. I went looking for you last night. I nearly knocked the door down, but you were nowhere to be found. Now you're suddenly worried. Where the hell were you when your sister was burning up with fever? The man was instantly struck with guilt, his words catching in his throat. Unable to utter a coherent explanation for the longest time, I gave him a cold, disdainful look. This sanctimonious hypocrite. Uncle Li said you were busy fixing the windows at the new house. You couldn't have picked a better time, could you? It just had to be when Fu Huan moved in. What? Saw the rain coming and got worried the mother and daughter might catch a chill. You can't be bothered to properly care for your own sister, yet you're falling over yourself to look after another man's wife and child. And now that something's happened to your sister, you come here to blame me. Get this straight. Our engagement was called off ages ago. We have absolutely nothing to do with each other. Why on earth should I go out of my way to wait on your sister? What's more, last night I did everything I could for her. I wiped her down to bring the fever down. I gave her medicine. I did everything that needed to be done. So how, in your version of events, have I become some heartless monster who would stand by and watch her suffer? You're really pinning one hell of a label on me. Before you start pointing fingers at others, take a good, hard look at what you've actually done. Have you fulfilled even a shred of your responsibility as her brother? My face was a mask of resentment as I poured out all my pent-up grievances in one go. In all the years since we got engaged, you've been away more often than not. Who do you think has been handling all your family's mess? Don't tell me you're clueless. You dumped your sister here to live with me. She's constantly getting into trouble at school. And who's the one cleaning up after her? Me, bowing and apologizing to other parents. worrying about her schoolwork and her daily life as a fiancé. A sister-in-law-to-be. I've gone above and beyond, don't you think? What, you just take all my effort for granted? Am I Zhou Xiaoyuan's mother, or what? She was calling Fu Huan's sister-in-law the other day, wasn't she? Well then, you should go get her to manage Zhou Xiaoyuan. All of you Zhous can get the hell away from me. I'm done dealing with your never-ending drama. With that, I shoved him away forcefully. I walked away from there quickly. Zhou Qian called after me loudly, Zhiruwei, Zhiruwei. But I didn't respond. I just felt sickened. When I got back, Zhou Qian was still waiting at my doorstep. From a distance, I could see him pacing back and forth, looking quite anxious. His eyes lit up the moment he saw me. Zhiruwei, you're back. He hurriedly pulled out the completed marriage application. Zhiruwei, I was wrong. Let's get married right away. Okay, I'll go submit the marriage application now. The fierce argument just now made Zhou Qian's heart sink. He had never seen Shin Zhiruwei look at him with such hatred before, as if she truly intended to sever all ties with him. Zhou Qian began to feel a pang of panic. He had never imagined losing Zhiruwei, nor did he want to. Perhaps he had been spending too much time looking after Fu Huan and her daughter lately, making her feel insecure. Getting married would solve everything. Once they were married, she would be his, and as a couple, they could take care of Fu Huan and her daughter together, that way. He wouldn't be failing Jianhua's trust either. I let out a cold snort, pushed him away, and opened the door to go in and get my luggage. Zhiruwei, seeing that I was ignoring him, Zhou Qian grew even more frantic. For someone so proper and rule-abiding, he actually grabbed me and held me right there at the door. Will you marry me? I truly want to spend my life with you. I know I hurt you with the Xiaoyuan situation. You can hit me, yell at me, do anything, just please don't leave me, Zhiruwei. I was just thinking of how to get rid of him when Fu Huan showed up. She had been carrying the child the whole way, and the wind had left her hair in disarray. In a frantic panic, she cried out, Brother Qian, what do we do? Tian has another stomachache from eating something bad. Brother Qian, please, take us to the hospital. Zhou Qian's hand, which was holding mine, trembled slightly. I knew all too well the inner turmoil he was experiencing. With a silent, cold laugh, I patted the back of his hand in a feigned gesture of comfort. Go, a life is at stake, and she is, after all, just a child. Seeing how understanding I was, Zhou Qian breathed a sigh of relief and quickly took the child from Fu Huan's arms. He said to me with conviction, wait for me. As soon as I get back from the hospital, I'll submit the marriage application. I said, why don't you give me the application first? I'll go to your workplace and wait for you there. All right then, Zhou Qian, seeing nothing amiss, handed me the paper with complete trust, without a shadow of a doubt. Once I saw them disappear into the distance, I fetched my luggage from inside. Soon after, the car sent for me arrived at the intersection. Meng Huai and the others waved to me. Comrade Shen, time to go. I acknowledged the call, quickly picked up my pace, and hurried over with my luggage in hand. Just before boarding, I paused for a moment, tore the marriage application in my hand to pieces, and casually tossed it into the grass by the roadside, stepping on a small scrap of paper that had fluttered to the ground. I got on the vehicle without looking back. Wang Tian is fine. It was Fu Huan who told her to fake a stomachache. It's just because she saw Zhou Qian go back to file the marriage paperwork. She was afraid that if we really got married, she'd have no chance left. That's why she came up with this scheme. By the time Zhou Qian rushed to the hospital with the child in a panic, it was already too late. After all the hassle of registering, queuing, and seeing the doctor, I was finally found out by the physician. Zhou Qian was furious. Fu Huan, you're so irresponsible. How could you make the child lie for you? He tried to leave, but Fu Huan clung to him desperately, refusing to let go. Brother Qian, what if you get married and abandon us? You're all I have left for me and my daughter. All eyes turned towards them, and Zhou Qian felt as if needles were pricking his back. He hurriedly said, let go. I'm still engaged. Fu Huan shrieked. No, your engagement was called off long ago. Shin Zhiruwei told me so herself. She never wanted to marry you in the first place. I even went to her workplace to ask. She's been sent down to the countryside for 3 years and isn't coming back. What? Zhou Qian felt as if struck by lightning, a deafening roar filling his ears. Zhiruwei, she's leaving. Zhou Qian shoved the woman aside with a sharp motion and desperately raced back. His mind was in a fog the entire way. Only then, belatedly, did he realize the strangeness in his own behavior during this period. It wasn't that I wasn't angry or jealous, my heart was just utterly broken. and I was completely disillusioned with him. He came back too late, the door to my house was shut tight, with not a soul in sight. Only then did Zhou Qian realize I had truly left. Right after our huge fight, he sat slumped by the doorway, as if he had lost the whole world. The wind howled, swirling fallen leaves before him. Zhou Qian's sharp eyes spotted a familiar page among the pile of leaves. He picked it up. It was the marriage report he had given me. Now, it was nothing but shreds of paper. His whole body trembled, and then his hand fell limply to his side. Zhou Qian finally understood. It seemed he had lost me forever. Sometimes you can't help but marvel at how fate is decided in a single moment. The universe has a way of correcting its mistakes, for instance, letting me be reborn 1 month before I was to marry Zhou Qian. Another example is how the right person can be brought into your life. After nearly a year in the countryside, I wrote to my parents to tell them I had met someone special here, Meng Huai. Through spending time together, I found him to be an honest, upstanding, and principled man. He's down-to-earth and kind-hearted, a quality I could see from the very beginning when he refused to take my bus fare. At work, we joined forces and overcame many challenges together. Before we knew it, we had taken a liking to each other. Last month, we went back home together. Our parents met, we got engaged. It all happened in one smooth, seamless flow. After I retrieved the token from Zhou Qian, I wrote to my parents immediately to inform them. They didn't say much. In fact, they were never very pleased with the Zhou family to begin with, thinking their family dynamics were too complicated and that marrying into it would inevitably cause me a great deal of worry. Especially the Zhou parents, they were difficult to get along with, sharp-tongued, and just by their looks, you could tell they were the type to make life hard for a daughter-in-law. So when the engagement was called off, they didn't blame me for it. When Meng Huai came to pick me up for dinner, he brought a bouquet of camellias. Sitting in the back seat of his car, I was enveloped in their delicate fragrance. A few locals passing by didn't hesitate to compliment what a lovely couple we made. With all the attention, I grew a bit shy and lowered my head. Amidst the chorus of praise, a single voice rang out, discordant and ill-timed. Jirui. Zhou Qian's voice trembled. The moment he saw me sitting on the back of another man's motorcycle, the color drained from his face, my smile vanished instantly, and I said coldly, "What are you doing here?" With trembling hands, he pulled from his chest the marriage report I had torn to pieces. "How could you just leave without a word? I've been waiting for you to come back so we could get married." It took him a whole year to show up. It's like locking the barn door after the horse has bolted. Meng Huai stepped in front of me, his tall frame a solid wall of protection. "I'm sorry, but Jirui is my fiancée now, and she will only ever marry me." A fellow villager came to help fend off his pestering. As I rode away on the back of Meng Huai's bicycle, we got further and further away. I could just make out Zhou Qian trying to follow. But someone stopped him. He was shouting my name, but I paid him no mind. I begged and pleaded with him just like that, crying my eyes out, to leave Fu Huan and her daughter alone. Did he ever listen? What goes around comes around. He brought this on himself. Zhou Qian still couldn't believe that Shin Jirui no longer loved him. They were childhood sweethearts. He had always known that Jirui had a crush on him since they were kids. The adoration in a girl's eyes, like the light of the stars, cannot be hidden. He never meant to let her down. It's just that he couldn't bring himself to abandon his brother's dying wish. Once he settles Fu Huan and her mother, once he resolves all these matters, he will go back and marry her. But when will that be? Fu Huan always needs him. Fu Huan can never seem to do without him. Perhaps he was too overconfident, certain that Jirui would never leave him, which is why he repeatedly trampled on her patience. It was only after he had finally driven her away that he panicked, but by then, it was all too late. Fu Huan first used their child, and then herself. She deliberately let the neighbors see them in a physical tussle, and repeatedly showed up uninvited at his workplace with meals. Her ambiguous behavior led his colleagues to misunderstand. She wanted to tie herself to Zhou Qian completely. Human hearts are fickle. And she believed that only by marrying him and legally binding their relationship could she secure a lifetime of happiness. But Zhou Qian was unwilling. He had only agreed to Jianhua's request to look after her. He understood the principle of not coveting a friend's wife, so he desperately tried to explain to everyone that there was nothing improper between them. Yet, with Fu Huan in the picture, no other woman was willing to marry him. The Zhou parents were on edge, finding fault with Fu Huan at every turn. Living under the same roof, their days were filled with constant bickering and chaos. Zhou Qian was simply exhausted. As if that wasn't enough of a headache, his younger sister was mischievous and willful, constantly getting into trouble. parents of her classmates and teachers would often show up at their doorstep demanding answers, between caring for his ailing parents, handling matters for Fu Huan and her daughter, and frequently cleaning up after his troublemaking sister Zhou Xiaoyuan. Zhou Qian was constantly running between the hospital, home, and school, stretched thin and utterly drained. Finally, during yet another argument between Fu Huan and Zhou Xiaoyuan over who should get new clothes with his money this month, he snapped and couldn't help but flip the table over. He yelled at Fu Huan, "I'm not your husband. Looking after you is a favor, not an obligation. What right do you have to scheme for my money?" Then he turned on Zhou Xiaoyuan, "You can't even keep up with your studies, and you're still asking for new clothes. How many times have you even visited our parents in the hospital? The way you're going, you might as well drop out and get a job right now." Fu Huan didn't dare to speak. Zhou Xiaoyuan, sobbing and sniffling, pointed at Fu Huan and her mother and said, "Why did you have to bring these two jinxes home? If it weren't for them, Sister Jirue would have married you long ago. She never hesitated to buy me clothes with her own money. You're not even as good to me as a stranger." With that, she ran out of the room in tears. Zhou Qian stood inside the house, utterly dejected. His gaze, lost and distant, was fixed in the direction of my old home, the house my uncle had long since cleared out and sold to someone else. If he hadn't lost Jirue, they would surely be living a happy life together by now. And his days wouldn't be such a complete mess as they are now. He had failed to properly care for his parents, his younger sister's education had been neglected, and his career was stuck in a rut, constantly held back by family obligations. With a large household and high expenses, he was forced to repeatedly ask for salary advances. His superiors at work were deeply dissatisfied with him, and a well-meaning colleague even warned him that he was on the management's list for potential layoffs. When that time came, where would the money to support this entire large family come from? Zhou Qian was filled with bitter regret. He rued the day he had made that grand, overconfident promise to his sworn brother to look after his wife and daughter. In the end, it had ruined his own life. If he were given another chance, sadly, there are no ifs in this world. Story 2, in my past life, I was saved from drowning by Zhou Lin and pledged to marry him in gratitude, on our wedding night. He was urgently recalled to his military unit. He left me behind to care for his 3 children from a previous marriage and his bedridden mother. I worked backbreaking jobs in the mines to put the 3 children through school and devotedly tended to his paralyzed mother until her passing. But after his mother was buried, those 3 stepsons disowned me as their stepmother and tried to throw me out. By then, I was already worn down and sick from exhaustion. Through tears, I cursed them as ungrateful wretches. At that moment, Zhou Lin returned with his beaming ex-wife, Chang Kaisen. "For all these years, you've been eating our food and living under our roof. You should be grateful my sons haven't demanded money from you. We never even registered our marriage. How dare you have the gall to cling on and refuse to leave?" Only then did I realize that Zhou Lin and his ex-wife had faked their divorce all those years ago. They had been living a blissful, comfortable life together in the military compound this whole time. Overwhelmed with rage, I coughed up blood, fell from the bed, and lost consciousness. Seizing the opportunity, they dragged me outside the village and left me to be mauled to death by wild dogs. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day I fell into the water. In this life, I will save myself. 1. Someone's in the water. Help. I choked on a mouthful of water and knew in that instant I had been reborn. Just as a loud splash exploded in my ears, I looked and saw Zhou Lin, clad in a military uniform, swimming straight towards me. I reacted as if I'd seen a ghost, frantically dog-paddling in the opposite direction. "Miss, you're swimming the wrong way. Turn around, quick." The villagers gathered on the shore thought I was swimming in the wrong direction and shouted in a panic. Little did they know, I was doing it on purpose. With water splashing in his face, Zhou Lin couldn't see clearly and thought I was thrashing about. "Chang Kaisen, stop struggling. I'm here to save you." A sense of dread washed over me. In my past life, Zhou Lin hadn't spoken at this moment. He must have been reborn too. Sure enough, Zhou Lin's voice rang out, laced with surprise. "You know how to swim. In my previous life, I had nearly drowned and he saved me." He'd always thought I couldn't swim. Now, the sound of splashing water grew louder and closer. He was catching up to me. In a panic, I decided to take a gamble. I dove under the water and swam in a direction where Zhou Lin couldn't see me. Seeing me suddenly submerge, Zhou Lin panicked and dove in after me, grabbing hold of my calf. It felt like being ensnared by a venomous snake. My chest was about to burst from holding my breath. Was he trying to drown me? Frantic, I kicked wildly, and the grip on my calf suddenly loosened. I quickly surfaced, gasping for air as I swam toward the shore. A sharp-eyed villager spotted me. She swam up on her own. Zhou Lin had just surfaced for air and, hearing this, turned to look, shivering from the cold. I turned back and saw Zhou Lin reaching the bank. I glared at him with pure hatred. A complex look flashed in Zhou Lin's eyes as he climbed ashore. Chang Kaisen, I had no idea you were such a strong swimmer. As he spoke, he reached out to pull me up. My scalp crawled with fear. I grabbed the arm of a passing woman and screamed at him. Don't touch me. Zhou Lin felt awkward. With so many people gathering around, he had no choice but to withdraw his hand. I stood up, trembling, as Zhou Lin approached and tried to grab me again. Sir, I don't know you. Please show some restraint. Zhou Lin's face darkened after being rejected again and again. I apologize. I'm a soldier, and my only thought was to save you. When I saw you drowning, I acted hastily and may have overstepped in the water. I'm sorry for startling you. His words were bound to be misunderstood, and sure enough, a man in the crowd whistled, a hero saving a beauty. The only proper way to repay him is to offer your hand in marriage. I never expected Zhou Lin to pull a stunt like that. How despicable. Hey, mister, you shouldn't make accusations like that. The water was murky down there. Are you sure it was me you touched? Just then, a villager noticed the wounds on Zhou Lin's hand. Young lady, this man risked his life to save you. And you went and scratched up his hand. If it weren't for him, you would have drowned. I remember when Zhou Lin grabbed my calf, I definitely kicked him a few times. Who said I was drowning? Besides, with all those rocks at the bottom, he could have just cut his hand on one. What's more, I surfaced and got to shore before he did. I saved myself. He didn't save me. Zhou Lin looked a bit embarrassed. Chang Kaisen, we're from the same village. I'm Zhou Lin. I'm just worried you'll catch a cold and wanted to walk you home. Zhou Lin was clearly trying to stall me. Something was definitely off. I was terrified he'd try to grab me. If anyone from the village saw, I'd never be able to explain it. I turned and ran. Zhou Lin tried to give chase, but the auntie grabbed his arm and started pestering him with questions. Oh my, you're a soldier, young man. Are you married? Seeing that Zhou Lin hadn't followed, I ran all the way to the village entrance with my heart in my throat. Sure enough, I saw Suyi receiving a document patch from the postman. My eyes widened and I let out a furious shout. Suyi, how dare you steal my university acceptance letter? 2. In my past life, I was drowning when Zhou Lin saved me. In front of everyone, he hauled me ashore with one arm around my chest. Word spread through the village like wildfire. Every single person I met had something to say about it. Chang Kaisen, saving a life is a debt that can only be repaid by giving oneself in marriage. Unable to withstand the pressure, my mother agreed to the matchmaking arranged by Zhou Lin's go-between. Zhou Lin hastily threw a wedding banquet, but that very night he was urgently recalled to his military unit. I stayed behind to care for his 3 sons from a previous marriage and his mother, who had been paralyzed for years. It all happened so fast. I never even thought about my college acceptance letter. To keep food on the table for my family, I went to the mountains to haul ore. Once, the mine collapsed. I survived, but my leg was crushed. The mining company paid the medical bills, but with 3 sons to put through school, I rushed my recovery. I bought fava beans in town, ground them into paste at midnight to make jelly noodles, and carried them through the village to sell by day. Everyone in the village said I was a good wife, selling bowls of cold jelly for just 5 cents apiece. I somehow managed to scrape together the school fees for all 3 of my children. Once, as I was passing by Suye's house, a friend of hers called out Chang Kaisen. I thought she was calling for me. Sister, 1 bowl of cold jelly, please. Dressed in shabby clothes and hobbling on a bad leg, I fumbled clumsily to serve the cold jelly, all while watching the city girls my age, dressed in their bright, beautiful clothes. Suyi sat in the courtyard watching me, also dressed in fine clothes, her complexion glowing with health. After the children left for university, my mother-in-law, who had been bedridden for most of her life, finally passed away. Unable to hold on any longer, I donned the traditional mourning attire, purchased a coffin for her, and arranged the funeral. On a day of pouring rain, I followed the funeral procession up the mountain to bury her, kowtowing and wailing with grief until I collapsed. I'd been diagnosed with a dreadful, terminal illness, tuberculosis. To my surprise, after the funeral, all 3 children were in a hurry to get back to school and even lashed out at me. You consumptive wretch, just die already. You're not even our mother, why should we pay for your treatment? I was so shocked I could barely catch my breath and broke down into uncontrollable sobs. I raised 3 ungrateful wretches. I slaved away in the mines like a beast of burden, just to scrape together your tuition, and ended up with a broken leg. I got up before dawn and worked until dark selling cold noodles to put you all through college. And that's what wore me down and made me sick. Now that the three of you have such bright futures ahead of you, you turn your backs on your own mother. You have no conscience." My 3 children flushed with shame at my words, and we were locked in an awkward standoff. Suddenly, Zhou Lin pushed the door open and entered with Su Yi. "Chang Kai-san, how dare you call yourself the mother of my 3 sons? Their mother is my wife. You and I never got a marriage license, so what kind of mother do you think you are?" My lips trembling, I stared at Zhou Lin, then looked at Su Yi in shock. "What do you mean we never got a license? And that Su Yi is your wife?" Su Yi had an elegant air about her. She wore the latest fashion in red pointed-toe high heels, had her lips painted with lipstick, and her hair was neatly styled in a bun. As for me, bedridden from long illness, my eyes were sunken, my frame gaunt and sallow, a wretched, wasted sight. It suddenly dawned on me, their divorce was a sham. No wonder all these years, whenever I wrote to Zhou Lin, he kept putting me off, saying his military duties kept him too busy and that we'd get our marriage certificate when he found the time to return. Overwhelmed by fury, I was seized by a fit of violent coughing, as if trying to hack my lungs out. My throat tickled, I spat blood, and tumbled from the bed. They seized the chance to hoist me onto a cart, dragged me out of the village overnight, and dumped me in the graveyard. I was jolted awake by the pain of 6 wild dogs gnawing at my hands and feet. My throat torn open by a gaping wound. With my last glimpse, I saw my mother, her hair white as snow, find me in tears. She picked up stones to drive the wild dogs away, but nothing could stem the blood pouring from my throat. I lay in my mother's arms, and in the blink of an eye, my breath was gone. 3. Su Yi flinched at my shout, staring at me in shock. "Chang Kai-san, what are you doing here?" Seizing the moment while Su Yi was stunned, I rushed over and snatched the file folder from her hand. Su Yi's hand closed on empty air, and she shot a resentful look my way. "That's mine, give it back." I let out a cold, derisive snort. "Yours? Are you sure about that, Su Yi?" Su Yi came to her senses just then, and the postman was staring at her with a look of utter surprise. I was just going to hold on to it for you. I heard you fell into the water, so I figured you wouldn't have time to come by. Something felt off to me, Su Yi. The lake is quite a distance from here." "How did you know I fell in?" Su Yi stammered, trying to backtrack, but no words would come out. I stared at the postman who was watching the drama unfold. "Hey, how could you just hand my university acceptance letter over to someone else like that?" The postman's expression changed. "Well, she stopped me and said it was hers, so I gave it to her. I ran so fast I was fighting back the urge to retch. Then I'll just open it right now and see if this admission letter has my name, Chang Kai-san, or Su Ye's on it. If it's got my name, I'm going to report you for giving away my university admission letter to someone else without my permission." The postman realized I wasn't someone to be trifled with. Su Ye's face went pale. She suddenly snatched the document from my hands and ran. "Chang Kai-san, this is my university acceptance letter. If anyone's opening it, it's going to be me." I was shocked and lunged to grab her. "Su Yi, I dare you to tear it." I grabbed Su Ye's long braid. She wasn't strong enough to wrestle it back from me and cried out in desperation for the postman to help. Just as the postman was hesitating, a furious shout rang out from the distance. "Chang Kai-san, let go of Su Yi." Zhou Lin caught up, and in a furious rage, he shoved me into the roadside paddy ditch. Su Yi was badly startled and hastily whispered, "What's going on? How did she get here?" Zhou Lin's face was a picture of displeasure. I had no idea she could swim. Clutching the document folder, I hauled myself out of the flooded paddy ditch, wiping the blood from my forehead. I cursed Zhou Lin in my head. What a complete bastard. Right in front of them, I tore open the envelope. There, neatly printed on the acceptance letter, was my name. My eyes burned with fury. In my past life, Su Yi had truly stolen my future. "Su Yi, you stole my university acceptance letter, and when I caught you, you tried to tear it up. You couldn't steal my future, so you're trying to destroy it." Su Yi, supported by Zhou Lin, looked at me, trembling. "Chang Kai-san, I really thought this was my acceptance letter. I wasn't trying to tear it. I just opened it too hastily. Since it's yours, I was just holding on to it for you temporarily. It's not like I wasn't going to give it back." I let out a cold laugh. "Su Yi, we don't even know each other. What gives you the right to collect my things?" I stared back at Zhou Lin, completely unfazed by the look in his eyes that seemed ready to devour me. "And you, what a coincidence that you were right there when I fell in. We're strangers. Why would you risk your life to save me in that freezing water?" Zhou Lin pressed his lips together tightly, his gaze shifting away. "I just happened to be passing by. When I heard someone fall into the water, I jumped in. I'm a soldier, it's my duty to help." The postman got on his bicycle and started to leave. Quick as a flash, I grabbed hold of his bicycle. "You're not going anywhere." Suyi fraudulently claimed my university acceptance letter. "You need to be my witness, or I'll report you for giving my letter to someone else." Seeing this, Zhou Lin walked over and shot the postman a meaningful look. "Chang Kaisen, let go of their bicycle. They still have more letters to deliver." Suyi stepped in to help, directly grabbing my hand to pull me away. Left all alone, I felt a surge of anger, anxiety, and utter despair. "You little brats, how dare you pick on my Kaisen?" My tears started to fall. My mom was here. My mom saw how upset I was, crying, with my forehead still bleeding. My mother flew into a rage and charged over, slapping Suyi across the face, having worked the rice paddies her whole life. Her hands were as strong as you'd imagine. "How dare you, you bitch, bully my Kaisen." Suye's grip loosened, the force of the blow spinning her halfway around like a top before Zhou Lin caught her in his arms. In the blink of an eye, Suye's face swelled up. Zhou Lin was furious. "You old hag, how dare you hit someone? Don't you know that's against the law?" My mother's temper didn't subside one bit. The matchmaker she brought, seeing the situation turn sour, quickly tried to smooth things over in a loud voice. "Oh my, isn't that Zhou Lin? What's going on between you, your ex-wife, and Chang Kaisen? This must all be a misunderstanding." Suyi covered her face and hung her head. When I heard that, I thought, what a ridiculous misunderstanding. "Mom, Chang Kaisen tricked the postman into intercepting my university acceptance letter. Zhou Lin was only here to help her." My eyes fixed on Zhou Lin again. "You say hitting people is against the law. Well, you just pushed me and made me cut my forehead. That means you're breaking the law on purpose." Zhou Lin was so angry that a vein throbbed on his forehead. The matchmaker was stunned. "Zhou Lin, you're the one who asked me to arrange a marriage for you. Now you've gone and hit Chang Kaisen. This match is ruined. I'm afraid you've made an enemy, not in-laws." My mother, still fuming, shielded me and pointed an accusing finger at Zhou Lin as she began to berate him. "So you're Zhou Lin? How dare you have a matchmaker propose to my Kaisen while at the same time helping your ex-wife steal her university acceptance letter? You're divorced, yet you're still paving the way for your ex. How dare you gang up to bully my Kaisen? I'll fight you to the death over this." I remembered that when I fell into the water, it was clearly because someone kicked me in. "Mom, I'm going to university. Forget that Zhou Lin is a divorcee. Even if I were to get married, it would have to wait until after I finish my degree. Besides, Zhou Lin and Suyi never got divorced in the first place." Zhou Lin's face fell, and he hurriedly denied it. "Chang Kaisen, you fell in the water today. I saved you out of kindness, but you ran off as soon as you got to shore. I chased after you only to find you hitting Suyi. You're accusing her of stealing your university acceptance letter. That's a vicious slander. I'm a soldier. You're accusing me of a sham divorce. You'd better think about the consequences." I stared coldly at Zhou Lin. "Whether you two are actually divorced or not, you know the truth in your hearts. You claim you saved me, but the whole village saw I saved myself. It had nothing to do with you, and yet you keep trying to get handsy with me. If you think I'm slandering you about not being divorced, then let's go check at the Civil Affairs Bureau. Do you and Suyi have the guts?" Zhou Lin and Suyi were visibly flustered, their faces a picture of guilt. My mother finally caught on. "So that's your game, Zhou Lin. You're not even divorced yet. You're trying to ruin my Kaisen's reputation so the matchmaker can arrange a marriage. You want to trick her into being a slave for your 3 sons and a nursemaid for your bedridden mother. And you wretched woman, Suyi, trying to steal my daughter's future and her chance at university. How utterly despicable." Just then, some villagers arrived, accompanied by officers from the local police station. My heart leapt with joy. "Mom, let's call the police and report Zhou Lin for marriage fraud." Zhou Lin panicked, then suddenly broke into a laugh. "Perfect timing. My childhood friend is at the police station." Suyi, who had been frightened, immediately felt emboldened. "Chang Kaisen, I genuinely thought it was my university acceptance letter at the time, which is why I had the postman give it to me." With a pitiful, pleading look, she gazed at the postman. "You agree, don't you, sir?" The postman scratched his head in confusion. "No, that's not right. Back then, you said you got into university. I asked if you were Chang Kaisen, and you nodded. I'm sure I remember correctly." The matchmaker listened for a while before finally catching on. "Zhou Lin, if you're really not divorced, you can't ruin Chang Kaisen's life. You'd also destroy my reputation as a matchmaker." Too intimidated by Zhou Lin to say more, the matchmaker could only look at Suyi. "How could you steal someone else's university acceptance letter? If this gets out in the village, your mother will be the talk of the town. But before the matchmaker could even finish her sentence, "Let's see who dares to talk behind my back," Suye's mother arrived. Followed menacingly by her two brothers, each shouldering a carrying pole, Suye immediately burst into tears and started loudly telling her side of the story. "Mom, Chang Kaisen's mother hit me." Upon hearing this, Auntie Sue flew into a rage and charged at my mom. "How dare you lay a hand on my daughter, you wretched woman? My husband is still around. I'll fight you to the death." My mom spat at her and rubbed her hands together. "I'm not like my daughter Kaisen, who's too soft-hearted. You old hag, I could tell at a glance you're no good. I was just about to settle the score with you, and here you come crawling to me first." I watched as Suya's two younger brothers charged over with carrying poles, ready to help beat up my mother. Remembering my past life, I decided to settle both old and new grudges at once. I took off my shoe and hurled it at the faces of Suya's brothers, instantly making their noses bleed. Suye shrieked and lunged to claw at my face. But I was ready for her. I slapped her hard across the cheek. Suye was stunned by the blow. "Ah, how dare you and your mother hit my face? I'll scratch your face to shreds." The scene descended into chaos, and Zhou Lin hurriedly stepped in to restrain his two brothers-in-law. Just then, a villager's furious roar rang out. "Break it up, now, the police are here." A young man in uniform walked over and pried Suye's hand from my hair. Zhou Lin didn't recognize this officer, assuming he was new. "Comrade, you're from our local precinct, right? I know your captain." Nan Gongyan swept his gaze over everyone present. "I'm the station chief in charge of the neighboring precinct. My name is Nan Gongyan. I was passing by after my shift when I heard someone had fallen in the water. I followed the commotion and found you all fighting. I just heard someone say they wanted to call the police. Who was it?" I glanced at Zhou Lin. "I want to report a crime. I'm accusing Suye of stealing my university admission letter, and I also believe someone intentionally kicked me into the water, attempting to murder me." "Officer, the location where I fell into the water is within your precinct's jurisdiction." Zhou Lin was visibly panicking. "Chang Kaisen, stop talking nonsense. The shore was crowded, you lost your footing and fell in by yourself. I was trying to save you out of the goodness of my heart. Are you now suggesting I staged the whole thing and pushed you in myself?" "I was prepared for this. I never said it was you. Someone kicked me hard, and I'm sure I have bruises. I can go to the hospital to get it documented. Besides, someone must have seen who did it." Now Suye's whole family started to panic. Suye's two younger brothers, holding their noses to stop the bleeding, had been surrounding my mother and me with carrying poles. If the police hadn't shown up, I was genuinely worried we'd be outnumbered and get hurt. My mother stood with her hands on her hips, continuing to berate Sue's mother. "So you're Suye's mother. Just because you have two sons, you think you can hit people? Let's see who dares lay a finger on me today." When I was hauling carrying poles and wielding hose, you two brats were still tadpoles looking for a mother to be reborn through. Suye's two younger brothers, around 12 or 13 years old, flushed bright red upon hearing this. They were speechless for a long time, not daring to utter a word. Auntie Sue lost it, seeing Suye's swollen, red face and her two sons with bloody noses. She started screaming at my mom. "You husband-killing widow, your own daughter fell in the water and got felt up by men. It's your family that won't be able to stay in this village." My heart skipped a beat. Auntie Sue's timing was suspicious to begin with. How did she find out so quickly? "How do you know men touched me all over?" Auntie Sue turned to look at me, drenched from head to toe, then glanced at Zhou Lin, who was equally soaked, and suddenly broke into a smile. "My son ran home and told me, from now on, no man in this whole village will want you." I ignored her. "Officer, I stand by my words and am willing to bear full legal responsibility for them. I demand that a case be officially opened for investigation." Nan Gongyan looked at me intently. "Since you've called the police, all of you will come with me to the station." Suye's face fell. "I want to report them too. Chang Kaisen and his mother assaulted my brother and me." Zhou Lin quickly spoke up in their defense. "Comrade, I'm from the military, and I understand your procedures. If my ex-wife's side wants to file a report, we need to do it at our local precinct station." The villagers erupted in an uproar. "Zhou Lin just said he knows the captain of our local station. If we go there, it'll just be a matter of handing over a couple cartons of cigarettes and a bottle of liquor to get them on his side. Isn't this just blatant bullying?" I'm well aware of the gravity of the situation. If we actually get the local police involved, things are going to get messy. I immediately said to Nan Gongyan, "I called the police first. Even if they want to file a report, you should deal with my case first." Accompanied by two colleagues, Nan Gongyan stepped forward and began to escort Yi Zi and her family away. Suyi clung to Zhou Lin, pleading for help and refusing to let go. hurry up and think of something. Zhou Lin also knew that since this wasn't their local precinct's police station, he couldn't protect Suyi at all. In fact, getting involved might even drag him down. Chang Kaisen, I don't know why you're targeting Suyi like this, or why you insisted on filing a report at the neighboring precinct. You don't want to marry me, and I never said I was set on marrying you either. And another thing, you injured Suyi and her brother. If the police station really files a case, you'll be held criminally liable too. I was bullied relentlessly growing up, which forged a fiery temper in me. I absolutely cannot stand being threatened. Zhou Lin, you just reminded me. I'm going to press charges against you too. You pushed me and caused this injury on my forehead. You won't get away with it either. A vein throbbed on Zhou Lin's forehead. He clenched his fists and said nothing more. Nan Gongyan looked at Zhou Lin. Since the person who called the police has spoken, comrade, let's go together. 6. At the police station, Nan Gongyan came over personally and said that Suye's family intended to sue my mother and me for assaulting them, pressing charges of intentional injury. In a case like this, we typically classify it as mutual assault. Zhou Lin injured you, and Suyi stole your university admission letter, which the mail carrier has corroborated. Since you're insisting on filing a formal report, they've expressed a willingness to settle and offer compensation. I was expecting a tough fight, but I didn't think they'd back down so quickly. Chief, do we know what kind of compensation they're proposing? Just then, Zhou Lin entered. He had requested to come in for a face-to-face discussion. Alright, Chang Kaisen, here's 250 for you. Consider it compensation. I let out a cold, scornful laugh. Zhou Lin, just who do you think you're insulting? With that, I got up and left. Zhou Lin was getting desperate. 300, that's all I have. Remembering how his whole family treated me in my past life, this isn't about the money. I kept walking, never breaking my stride as I headed out. 600. That's all the money I have. I stopped in my tracks. He was really going all out with this. It seemed he genuinely wanted to settle this. Zhou Lin, is the 600 meant as compensation for beating me up, or for Suyi stealing my admission letter? Zhou Lin turned and glared at me. Chang Kaisen, don't be so ungrateful. 600 is no small amount. Just think about how much I make in a month, or what your family's annual income is. I glared right back at him. Zhou Lin, if you want me to forgive Suyi, she needs to come and tell me herself. Zhou Lin went out, crestfallen. Soon after, Suyi and her mother came in, looking very reluctant. Unlike their flustered, uneasy expressions, I had come fully prepared. I looked at Suyi and got straight to the point. Zhou Lin paid 600 to settle after injuring me. You stole my admission letter. How do you plan to compensate me to settle this? The moment Suyi and her mother heard this, they completely lost it. 600. Zhou Lin, where on earth did you get that kind of money? Zhou Lin hurried over to calm them down. I immediately offered a thoughtful reminder to the family. Suyi, if you want my forgiveness, it's not impossible. Compensation and an apology. Suyi and her mother wore long, miserable faces. We don't have any money left. We're broke. You can have our lives if you want, but the most we can give you is another 100. I wasn't angry. I just looked at Nan Gongyan. Chief, I've changed my mind. I want to file a formal complaint. Zhou Lin panicked. He was about to return to the army for a promotion. We'll pay you back 1,000 together. Suyi and I, my mom was drinking water, her eyes lighting up. 1,000 was a fortune. Suyi completely lost it. Zhou Lin, you only make a few dozen yuan a month, and our family's yearly income isn't much either. How on earth are we supposed to come up with that much money for them? I added calmly. And Suyi has to walk through the village with a loudspeaker, apologizing for stealing my college acceptance letter. That made Sue's mother hit the roof. Chang Kaisen, absolutely not. If you want my daughter to apologize to you, fine, but a public apology through the village, out of the question. How could she and our family ever show our faces in public again? Zhou Lin held the sobbing Suyi and whispered something in her ear. I had a pretty good idea what they were talking about. If I refused to settle this, the police station would detain her for at least 15 days, her reputation would be ruined either way. After all, she and Zhou Lin weren't divorced. If I didn't forgive him, he'd be detained too, then he wouldn't be able to return to his military unit, and if the army found out, he'd be in even bigger trouble. Suyi looked up at me, exchanged a few words with her mother, and reluctantly agreed. Seeing that we had reached an agreement, Nan Gongyan had someone bring a pen. Since you've reached a settlement, sign here to close the case. I picked up the pen, hesitated for a moment, and then immediately voiced my concerns. Zhou Lin and Suyi haven't made good on their promise to compensate and apologize. I don't dare sign this right now. Zhou Lin is about to return to his military unit, and Suyi has 2 brothers at home, who's to say they won't change their minds and cause trouble for my family later. I'll sign when they actually deliver on their word. Zhou Lin had no choice but to take Suyi and her mother outside to talk some sense into them before coming back. We'll go to the credit union to get the money right now. You'll have it immediately. My mother and I sat in the police station, waiting patiently. Soon, Zhou Lin and Suyi returned. With trembling hands, my mother took the 1,000 yuan. In her excitement, she wet her finger with saliva and began counting the bills one by one. Xiao Xian, I've counted it. The full 1,000 yuan is here. Not a single cent missing. Suyi and her mother stared longingly at the 1,000 yuan in my mother's hands, then held each other and wept in anguish. Zhou Lin stared at me with a grim expression. Chang Kaisan, Suyi will make the apology tomorrow as promised. If you're not convinced, you can go and see for yourself. I wasn't worried about Suyi going back on her word. I picked up the pen and signed my name decisively. Officially closing the case, my mother and I left first. Ready to go home and get a good night's sleep, my mom was in a good mood and made me a bowl of poached eggs. I ate them with tears streaming down my face, having been given a second chance at life. Looking at the familiar surroundings of home felt like being trapped in a nightmare I couldn't wake from. The only comfort was that when I finally did wake, I was still alive. Early the next morning, my mom woke me up in a frantic rush. Kaisan, wake up, I just went to Suye's house. Her mom said she wasn't home. I even looked around the place myself. She's long gone, vanished. That two-faced bitch backed out on us. 7. I reassured my mom, telling her to just stay calm. I had a feeling Suyi agreed so quickly. Zhou Lin must have given her the idea. Sure enough, after breakfast, my mom and I hurried over to Zhou Lin's place, only to find she was gone too. I've already written the letter of complaint. The content details how Zhou Lin, a military serviceman, conspired with Suyi in a sham divorce. They plotted to push me into the water, with Zhou then staging a rescue, all with the aim of forcing me into a fraudulent marriage. Additionally, Suyi fraudulently claimed my university admission letter. The local police station has already opened a case. A week after mailing the letter, I spent my days happily helping my mother feed the chickens and transplant rice seedlings, eagerly awaiting the start of the school term. Soon after, investigators from the military arrived. Nan Gongyan came to my home, accompanied by the commanding officer from Zhou Lin's military unit. My mother was at home and got quite a fright. She rushed out to find me in a hurry. Kaisan, stop transplanting the rice seedlings, quick. That director from last time is here with the commanding officer from Zhou Lin's unit to see you. I immediately got out of the paddy field and hurried home with my mother. As soon as I entered the courtyard, I saw Nan Gongyan dressed in casual clothes, flanked by 2 men with a military bearing, also in civilian attire. Nan Gongyan smiled the moment he saw me. Chang Kaisan, regarding your claim of being deliberately pushed into the water, our investigation is complete. Both of Suye's brothers confessed. It was a scheme devised by Zhou Lin and his wife, Suyi. They first spread false news of their divorce. Then, Suye's brother was to push you in, and Zhou Lin would pretend to be passing by and jump in to rescue you. He did all this so the villagers would see him rescuing you in a compromising embrace, spreading rumors to ensure the matchmaker he hired could convince your mother to agree. That way, Suyi could take your university admission letter and go to college in your place. Upon hearing this, my mother was so furious she threw down her broom. Those blood-sucking bastards. I didn't curse them nearly enough last time. One of the 2 soldiers standing beside Nan Gongyan spoke up. Comrade Chang Kaisan, hello, I am Zhou Lin's company commander. After receiving your letter of complaint, I decided to come in person immediately. Zhou Lin was originally in line for a promotion to squad leader. If he has truly done such a thing, that is absolutely unacceptable. In the unit I command, I will not tolerate such serious issues of character and conduct. The reason I have come here is specifically to investigate this matter thoroughly and get to the bottom of it. Once verified, he will face serious disciplinary action. I felt a surge of deep respect. Truly, these are the soldiers who defend our nation. Yet, as a fellow soldier, Zhou Lin is nothing but a rotten apple. After exchanging a few more words with Zhou Lin's company commander, Nan Gongyan left. Nan Gongyan looked at me with a faint, ambiguous smile. Chang Kaisan, did you anticipate that Suyi wouldn't apologize, and were you even more certain that Zhou Lin would leave with her? I put on an expression of complete innocence. Chief, I was forced into this. Since Zhou Lin had the nerve to fake a divorce and then set me up to fall into the water in a scheme to trick me into marriage, reporting him is exactly what he deserves. Nan Gongyan let out a laugh. Chang Kai-san, I heard you got into the Provincial Police Academy. What a coincidence. I'm an alumnus. No wonder I took an instant liking to Nan Gongyan. He's not only upright and honest, but also handsome. And we went to the same university. It's no surprise I felt a connection right away. My mother was feeding the chickens and burst into a beaming smile when she heard that. Director, how old are you? Are you married? I was incredibly embarrassed. Mom, why are you asking about that? Nan Gongyan didn't mind at all. Auntie, I'm 28. I had a girlfriend from the city back in college, but we broke up. Now my mom's been trying to set me up on dates left and right. Chang Kai-san, you could say I'm your senior. If you ever need any help in the future, don't hesitate to come find me. My mom was over the moon. Kai-san's father died of tuberculosis when she was 8. It hasn't been easy for me, a woman from the countryside, so she started school late. She's 20 this year. When you think about it, there's not much of an age gap between you two. The more I listened, the more something felt off. I hurried back into the house. A few days later, she returned to the village. She walked all the way from her house to mine with a loudspeaker, apologizing the entire way. The whole village came out to watch the spectacle. Sui told me that not only had Zhou Lin not been promoted to squad leader, but he had also been discharged from the army early. Too ashamed to return to the village, Zhou Lin left to find work in the city. Sui stayed behind to care for their 3 sons and tend to her bedridden mother-in-law. In September, laden with bags and parcels, I happily set off for university in the provincial capital, with my mother seeing me off. But then, for some inexplicable reason, Zhou Lin suddenly showed up at my university looking for me. 8. After a few months apart, Zhou Lin was a far cry from his former spirited self, with a stubbled face, dark circles under his eyes, and having swapped his military uniform for tattered, patched-up clothes, he looked utterly dejected. Chang Kai-san, I'm driving a truck for someone now. I happened to be passing by your school and thought I'd come see you. I bought you some snacks. As he spoke, he opened the plastic bag, revealing Want snow cakes, Want milk, White Rabbit creamy candies, Alpenliebe lollipops, spicy strips, bananas, and apples. I didn't take it, eyeing Zhou Lin warily. Sorry, but we're not that close, are we? And all these things you bought must have cost a lot. You should send them back for Su Yi and your child to have. Seeing I was about to leave, Zhou Lin hurriedly blocked my way. Startled by his sudden move, I flinched. And he quickly shoved the things into my hands. Zhou Lin, what are you doing? If you keep this up, I'm calling the police. Zhou Lin's eyes were rimmed with the red veins of exhaustion. Chang Kai-san, the day you fell into the water, I knew you remembered our past life too. I couldn't very well come to see you empty-handed. There's no hidden meaning behind buying these things. Just think of it as my guilty conscience trying to make amends. These are all snacks girls like, they didn't cost much. Please, just take them. I let out a bitter, incredulous laugh. Zhou Lin, you ruined me in our last life. Now that you've failed to do it again in this one, aren't you afraid Su Yi will find out and divorce you? Zhou Lin hung his head. Su Yi couldn't handle the hardship in the village and ran off long ago. My mother was so upset she passed away. I just got back from the funeral. And now I'm scrambling to scrape together the tuition for my 3 sons. Chang Kai-san, I know you look down on me now, and you'll never forgive me. It's only now that I've finally seen my own heart clearly. I love you. Zhou Lin, you just can't accept how far you've fallen. My life is good now, and I don't want anything more to do with you. If you truly feel guilty, you shouldn't have come to see me. Just then, a female classmate walked by. Chang Kai-san, is this guy here to sell something? Don't buy anything. There are so many scammers these days. Let's go. Let's get lunch. Times had changed. A look of embarrassment flashed across Zhou Lin's face before he slunk away. My name is Nan Gongqing. I'm a year ahead of you. My cousin's name is Nan Gongyan. My brother told me about you. I didn't expect we'd meet so soon. Oh, and he's waiting for us to have lunch. Nan Gongqing pulled me into a restaurant, where Nan Gongyan had already ordered the food. I was utterly astonished. What are you doing here? Nan Gongyan felt a little embarrassed. I'm here to drop off some local specialties from home for my cousin, and we'll just grab a quick lunch together before I head off. I was worried you might be hungry, so I ordered a few dishes to start. Take a look and see if there's anything else you'd like. Nan Gongqing pulled me to sit down and couldn't stop laughing as she looked at the menu in front of me. Cousin, did you only bring me snacks? Who was it that just saw someone bothering Chang Kai-san, got all flustered and sent me over, then hovered nearby because he couldn't quite let it go? My face instantly burned with embarrassment. Senior, thank you. When Nan Gongyan left, he gave me a huge bag of homemade food from his mother. glutinous rice dumplings, yellow rice cakes, sweet fermented rice, and eggs. These things wouldn't keep. So Nan Gongqing would often sneak me out to cook them over a wood fire at school. The year I graduated, right after the cap and gown photos, Nan Gongyan was waiting for me on a scooter. He said it was a gift, to make my commute in the city easier. Big city life has its perks, but I want to stay with my mom for a few more years, to really look after her properly. I was assigned to work at the village police station. My mom called me a fool. Why come back to the countryside after finally getting out? Nan Gongyan happened to be bringing gifts to my house to offer congratulations. My mother smiled, quickly took the gifts from him, and was too busy to pull me aside and express her regrets. Nan Gongyan and I made our relationship official. At first, he was worried I'd mind the age gap, which made me laugh so hard. Soon, both families found out. Nan Gongyan's parents, overjoyed, sent a matchmaker to my home to propose. It was only then I recognized her. She was the same auntie who had stopped Shou Lin when I fell into the water. My mother agreed with sheer delight. That very night, she brought out the several quilts she had prepared for my wedding trousseau, along with the 3-piece bedding set she had embroidered by hand. On my wedding day, I cried uncontrollably, and my mother wept even more, overcome with the pain of parting. Both families hosted the entire village, celebrating with a grand feast that lasted 3 days. Nan Gongyan, dressed in a black Zhongshan suit as the groom with a large red flower pinned to his chest, personally helped me alight from the bridal sedan. Hand in hand, our fingers tightly interlaced, we stepped over the ceremonial fire pan. We paid our respects to both sets of parents in turn during the ceremony. My mother cried tears of joy, while my mother-in-law happily drank the changed address tea and gave me a large red envelope. The end. That's all for the first story. Don't go away, the next one is even more exciting. After transmigrating into a background character, I stood by the roadside watching the male lead, female lead, and the villainess argue. A large truck came barreling out, nearly turning me into a dead extra. After I'm gone, please raise my son for me. My bank card pin is. The villainess was mortally wounded saving me, and she died before she could finish her sentence. After searching high and low, I finally found the villainess's son at the orphanage. Right after I took him out of the orphanage, a barrage of comments appeared before my eyes. Holy crap, who's this random extra? Why did they adopt the little villain? This kid is just as twisted and obsessive as his villainous mother. Even his own father disowned him, dumped him in an orphanage, and adopted another child. What kind of fool would take him in? It's practically asking for trouble. Looking at the thinly dressed little boy before me, I dismissed the barrage of comments as nonsense. So he's a little dark and obsessive. It's not a terminal illness. Let's go. I reminded the little boy to get in the car, but he just stood there, staring motionless at the car across the street. I followed his gaze, and wow, a Maserati. The little villain must be furious. His own biological father would rather adopt some other kid than take him in. That's no ordinary kid. That's the male lead. He's had protagonist halo since childhood, with top-tier IQ and EQ. It's a shame this little villain has been competing with the male lead since they were kids, but no matter what, he just can't measure up. The barrage chat is starting up again. Looks like the author is updating again. In that car crash, the villainess died saving me. The female lead also died, and a new cycle of the tragic story begins anew. I glanced at the luxury car across the way and gently pushed the child's head down into our car. Let's go. If you like that car, our family can afford one too. The boy frowned. I don't want you to buy it. I'll buy it myself when I'm older. TSK, that's my boy. You've got ambition. We made the rest of the journey in silence and finally arrived home. Don't think that just because you adopted me, I'm going to call you mom. I have a mother. In the living room, his little fists were clenched tight, glaring at me with hostility. Call me whatever you like. By the way, what's your name? It just occurred to me that I still don't know his name. The dean did mention it, but I was too busy watching the barrage of comments to catch it. He remained silent. If you won't tell me, I'm just going to have to give you a random name. What should it be? Let's call him Zihao. I've noticed all the kids at the kindergarten seem to have that name, I said with a grin. Tang Song. What? My name is Tang Song, he shouted, stamping his foot in frustration. I chuckled. Ah. The Tang and Song dynasties, the 8 great masters of prose, right? What a fine name. I'll call you Tang Tang from now on. No, I won't have it. That's a girl's name. My name is Tang Song, he protested. Alright, Tang Tang, it's getting late, time for bed. I have to take you to school to register tomorrow. I picked him up, plopped him into the little bed I'd prepared earlier, tucked him in, and left. 2. It wasn't until the next morning, after I had taken Tang Song to register, that I realized. The male lead, Chi Ming, is also in this class, and he's even desk mates with Tang Song. Well, the show's about to start. Get ready to watch the villain get schooled by the male lead. In this old-school rivalry story, the antagonist is doomed to be a loser. It's a shame he doesn't realize it himself, always thinking he can outdo the male lead, working harder than anyone. Come on, that's the male lead, the absolute center of the story. A minor villain like that will never get their moment in the sun. Those damn comments are popping up again, and they're so nasty. What do you mean, never get their moment? The kid I raised is the best, even if he's a bit of a couch potato. I want to sign up for tutoring classes. I need them for Chinese, math, and English. That evening, after Tang Song finished his homework, he found me watching cartoons in the living room and said, "You're only in second grade, what do you need tutoring for? Come on, let's watch Crayon Shin-chan together." I patted the spot next to me, offering him a sincere invitation. The little one glanced at the TV and was utterly disgusted. "I need tutoring. I'm going to be top of the class for the final exam. If you don't sign me up, I'll report you for neglect." Well, would you look at that, trying to threaten me. Do you think I was born yesterday? Alright, I'll sign you up. I'll go to the tutoring center and register you tomorrow. Seeing that I agreed, he turned and went back into his room to continue reading. The next day after school, I picked up Tang Song and took him straight to the gymnasium. He was so angry his little face turned green. I wanted to sign up for Chinese, math, and English. What's the idea of signing me up for swimming and tennis lessons? Oh, come on. I just thought you needed to build up your strength, so you should get more exercise. As the saying goes, moral, intellectual, physical, aesthetic, and labor education, physical fitness is right up there in the top 3. I stepped forward to hug and comfort him, but he dodged away. What about the cooking class? Is that also for strengthening your training? He pointed at the 3rd registration form. That one, that's a freebie. Times are tough, so it's sign up for 2, get 1 free. Can't pass up a free offer, right? My cooking is so bad even a dog wouldn't eat it. Now that I've finally found such a stubborn and competitive talent, I absolutely have to nurture this culinary skill. No, I won't. Change it for me. I refuse to learn this stuff. Furious, he tore the application form to shreds. I pulled 3 more sheets of paper from my bag and handed them to him. That was just a copy. I've got plenty more where that came from. Are you just not going because you're afraid you won't be able to learn it or do it well? Who says I can't do it well? I can master anything, and I'll be the best at it. Tang Song snatched the registration form right out of my hand, swung his little backpack, and went inside. See, that's the problem with not being the real mother. Everyone else is getting their kids extra tutoring, but her, it's all swimming and tennis. And now she's even got him doing cooking classes. The protagonist is already in the Olympiad math class, while the antagonist can't even get remedial lessons. Don't even think about catching up in this lifetime. I couldn't be bothered to read any more of these comments. With a wave of my hand, I went off to find a place to play games. 3. Throughout elementary school, Tang Song and I were locked in a battle of wits. After school, he'd stay up late reading, but I'd pull the plug on the lights at 10 sharp. He was reading How the Steel Was Tempered. But I swapped it out for The Book of Why. On weekends, while he was buried in practice exams, I'd drag him to a park 10 kilometers away and make him hike back with me. During school breaks, he'd go crazy doing problem sets, while I went crazy social dancing and gaming. Wang Hohot, could you please keep it down? I have my high school entrance exam coming up. He finally snapped, completely losing his temper, and yanked out my speakers. It's just the high school entrance exam, not the Gaokao. What are you so worked up about? Auntie Chen, Auntie Zhou, and I are playing mahjong later. We need a 4th, so you'll have to fill in. He may be the villain, dark and obsessive, but when faced with unreasonable women, especially 3 of them at once, even the most twisted antagonist is powerless. Tang Song played mahjong with us all afternoon and lost a bundle. A villain is a villain, can't do anything right. The male lead aces every exam and hits the top rank in games without even trying. Unlike him, who could study himself to death and still be the eternal runner-up, and with a mother like that, dreaming of ever beating the male lead is just that, a dream. These comments really know how to throw shade, but it's the truth. Tang Song has always worked hard, even if his goal was just to compete with and beat the male lead, but he really is a hard-working kid. No TV, no video games, just straight to studying after dinner. She's great overall. Except for the occasional tantrum when she can't outscore the male lead, a kid like this would be a tiger parent's absolute dream come true. Too bad I'm not that kind of parent, I'm more of a couch potato. I really don't want him to turn into the gloomy, obsessive type people are talking about in the comments. I'm going to turn him into a bright, cheerful young man who's happy every single day. Just before the high school entrance exams, Mayu somehow got her hands on a whole crate of mushrooms. We made them into a soup, and it was incredibly delicious. Tang-song had a bowl too. You're 100 years old between the lot of you. Don't you know you can't just eat any old mushroom? The doctor was utterly speechless, looking at the 5 of us, 4 adults and a child, all laid up with food poisoning, but Tang-song was even more furious than the doctor. We were out for days, and the high school entrance exam was long over by the time we recovered. I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to. I honestly had no idea those mushrooms were picked by your Auntie Chen's mother-in-law on her trip to Yunnan. While I don't really care about his grades, I still hate to see him so upset. The male lead mentioned in that comment, Chi Ming, got the top score in the entire city. He got into the affiliated primary school of the Normal University, the absolute top-tier school. After coming back from the hospital, Tang Song shut himself in his room, refusing to come out or even eat, to cheer him up. I gritted my teeth and decided to go all out. Tang, look what I have. I slipped the item through the crack under his door. The door swung open quickly. What is the meaning of this? He held up the acceptance letter from the affiliated elementary school of the Normal University, but I never even took the exam. Haha, I donated 200,000 to the school, and they made an exception to admit you, son. Our family has money. Even if you do nothing and just lays around at home like a couch potato, your mom can guarantee you'll never have to worry about food or shelter for the rest of your life. It's time for him to learn the power of money. That's cheating. No one knows, but I do. Tang Song's face flushed red with anger. I made a shushing gesture at him, so just don't say anything. That's all there is to it. He was still a kid after all, even though he said he wouldn't go when school started. He still shouldered his backpack and went to register. I want to live on campus. That evening, after registering, Tang Song began packing his bedding and clothes. Of course I was reluctant to see him go. Who would make up the numbers for me if he left? And who would cook for me? Tang, the school's conditions are poor. It's nowhere near as comfortable as living at home. Be a good kid and don't go. He didn't stop packing. I'm in middle school now, in 3 years. I'll be taking the high school entrance exams. This time, I'm determined to beat Chi Ming. That's why I have to live on campus. You can't stop me. Trying to outdo the male lead, that's a pipe dream. No amount of hard work will help. He'll just end up studying himself into a frenzy, questioning his entire existence. Is this when the villain's obsession spirals out of control during his 3 years at boarding school, to the point where he develops serious mental issues later on? He brought this on himself. He was always obsessed with surpassing the male lead, proving himself, proving it to his biological father, and the harder he tried, the worse it got. It's pointless. His mother is the classic malicious female supporting character. She caused the death of the woman his father truly loved. No matter how hard he tries to prove himself, it won't make a difference. Enough. I couldn't help but exclaim upon seeing those comments in the chat. Tang Song turned around and looked at me in surprise. I said, these old clothes are enough. No need to bring so many. I'll buy you new ones later. I forced a faint smile and explained. The barrage comments really worried me. I can't let Tang Song's mental state suffer. In the end, Tang Song did go to live at the school, but it only lasted 2 weeks. 5. Tang, dear, mom's here to see you. Have you been kicking off your blankets at night? Oh, my boy, it's only been a week at the dorm. How did you get so thin? Auntie Chen and the others miss you so much. She sent over some soup she made from scratch. Drink it while it's hot. I make it a point to go to the school every single day without fail, either to bring him food or to do his laundry. I can't believe Tang Song is such a mama's boy, right? He's a grown man and still so attached to his mom. When his mom called him Tang just now, it gave me the creeps. A few young girls whispered among themselves. Tang Song's face was as cold as ice. After another week of having meals delivered to him, Tang Song finally reached his breaking point and moved back home. In his second-year final exams, he ranked second in the entire grade. Furious, he locked himself in his room again and refused to come out all day. You did so well on the test. What more do you want? I ended up having to use the spare key. What's the point of being good? I'm still second place. He's still number 1. Tang Song's face remained expressionless. I know who he's talking about. So, what you're saying is, Only the top scorer gets to live, everyone else should just die. That's not what I meant. That's exactly what you meant. I never argue with him. But this time I just have to say something. So what if you're better than Chiming? There are plenty of people in this world more capable than him. Can you outdo them all? I just can't swallow it. Why has my mother suddenly been turned into some kind of villain? My father won't acknowledge me because of another woman. What did I ever do wrong? I just want him to know that I'm the best. I want him to regret everything. To make him pay for what he did to my mom. He started crying as he spoke, and it really tugged at my heartstrings. Oh, sweetheart, if your mother were still here, all she'd want is for you to grow up happy, and whether she was a bad woman or not isn't for anyone else to decide. As long as you don't believe it in your heart, then she never was. As for your father, he made his own choice. Everyone has their own path. You don't have to do anything just because of someone else's decisions. After I finished speaking, Tang Song didn't say a word. He was curled up on his bed, lost in thought. I sighed and covered him with a blanket. Honestly, no matter how you score, you'll always be number one in my book, the very best. While Tang Song was obsessive, it was only about matters concerning himself. Despite his dark nature, he never actually harmed anyone, even as a twisted and sinister antagonist. When you get down to it, he was just a child starved for love. I don't understand why those commenters have to be so vicious and cutting towards a child like that. Is this really what gives keyboard warriors their sense of accomplishment? In the days that followed, Tang Song applied himself even more diligently. I knew my words alone couldn't completely change him, but things did start to look up. He stopped shutting himself away in his room, no matter how poorly he did on a test. I thought the high school entrance exam would be a turning point. But then the unexpected happened. 6. Am I just destined to fail in life? No matter how hard I try, it's all for nothing. The heavens are just toying with me. Tang Song was in a car accident on the first day of the high school entrance exams and didn't wake up until 2 days later. Just like with the primary school entrance exams, he missed this one too. Meanwhile, Chi Ming remained the city's top scorer. The TV in the hospital room was airing an interview with him. Tang Song sat on the hospital bed, his hands gripping the sheets tightly. The antagonist's obsessive personality has fully awakened now. He wouldn't be so desperate as to seek revenge on the male lead, would he? What's the point of revenge? That's the male lead we're talking about. He's not going to die. It's actually kind of sad for the villain. All that effort, just gone to waste. I was afraid Tang Song would take it too hard. Afraid he'd turn to the dark side. Even more afraid he'd seek revenge on the male lead, so I drove him back to his hometown overnight. After 8 hours of driving, crossing 3 mountain passes, and taking a ferry, we finally arrived. Grandma, the kid's upset because he didn't do well on his exams. We're leaving him here for the summer. Please keep a close eye on him and don't let him wander off, especially near the river. I left 10,000 yuan for my grandma and took off in the middle of the night. The next day, Tang Song somehow got hold of a phone and called me. Wang Hohot, come pick me up right now. I want to repeat my final year of high school. What, you want to jump in the lake? Then I definitely can't pick you up. I hung up, and he called right back. If you don't come pick me up, I'll walk back myself. Ha, no one's ever managed to escape from my grandma's clutches. Not even the livestock have succeeded. LMAO. The villain was all set for a grand comeback. And they just shipped him off to the countryside. Is this some kind of reality show makeover? Look at him, his hair's all clumpy and matted. This random extra is just unbelievable. So impulsive, this backwater place, even GPS would get lost here. The comment section is buzzing again. I couldn't help but laugh to myself as I played mahjong and read the barrage of comments. Oh, my grandma, that woman. A villain with a one-track mind. Even the monkeys from Mountain May would be put to work for a couple of days if they fell into her hands. Tang Song ended up staying at his hometown for a full 2 months. Every day was spent feeding the chickens, herding the cattle, and gathering pig feed. He was so exhausted he'd fall asleep as soon as he hit the bed, with no time to dwell on trivial matters. His appetite grew too. According to my grandma, he could put away 3 big bowls of rice in a single meal. Let me send a bit more money back. In the blink of an eye, it's September 1st, the autumn wind rises, and the school season begins. It's time to bring Tang Song back for school. 7. Standing at the gate of the Provincial Key High School, Tang Song hesitated, words caught in his throat. You're not going to pull the same stunt as you did for the middle school entrance, are you? He couldn't help but ask me. I took his luggage out of the trunk and said with a laugh, of course it's different. This is a provincial key school, it'll cost 400,000. I've really gone all out this time, spent a fortune, The principal must be grinning from ear to ear. Perhaps, having grown accustomed to my ways over the years, he didn't put up much resistance this time. As he walked me out of the school, he suddenly said to me, "I'll study hard these next 3 years, I won't let you down, your money won't be wasted." Seeing how earnest he looked, I patted him on the shoulder. "You've got it wrong. I'm spending this money to make you happy, not to run you into the ground. For these next 3 years, as long as you're enjoying your studies, it's fine even if you're at the bottom of the class. After 3 years, if you still want to keep studying, I'll buy your way into a university for you, any top-tier school you want. Money is no object for me. In life, the most important thing is to be happy. Everything else is no big deal. It's not that I like school, I just..." "Alright, you have your own plans. My plan is this, no matter what your plans become, I'll always have your back." Damn, I'm kinda touched by this random side character. What do I do? Same here. The villain's life is tragic, but having a mom like that seems like a stroke of luck. It's no use. A villain is always a villain. The female lead is about to appear. The real battle for her affection starts now. I stopped in my tracks, not wanting to miss a single comment in the barrage. It took me a while to realize that the female lead, Gu Wen-yun, was about to make her entrance, and my villainous son would fall for her, becoming obsessively infatuated for a full decade, engaging in a series of macho rivalries with the male lead. In the end, heartbroken that the heroine married the male lead, she took her own life. Absolutely not. Why should a perfectly good kid hang all their hopes on one person? I need to find them more options. 8. After the high school freshman military training ended, Tang Song's face was tanned a deep, dark brown. The first thing he did when he got home was to hole up in his room and study. Tang, this is the tutor mom hired for you from Tsinghua University, you'd better study hard." I walked into his room with a college girl. To be honest, I didn't tell Tang Song the whole story. Besides being a junior at Tsinghua University, this girl was also the department's beauty queen. Compared to that female lead, Wang Wen-yun, who got tanned as dark as a lump of coal during military training, she was countless times prettier. "Mom, what made you think of finding me a tutor?" Tang Song was taken by surprise. I nudged the college girl a bit closer to him and said guiltily, "Your mom was just worried you'd struggle in high school, so she wanted to get you some extra help." Seeing a girl just a few years older than him, and one so pretty at that. Tang Song blushed all the way to the tips of his ears. I don't even know where to put my feet. Wait, what's this extra trying to do? Use the college girl to divert the villain's attention from the female lead, so she can see our comments after all. Not that it matters. What's meant to happen will happen. She's thinking way too simply. Is the female lead someone you can just replace that easily? The villain's been obsessively crazy about her for 10 years. Obsessed with the female lead for 20 years, he just hasn't met the right one. As the saying goes, you don't know what you're missing until you see something better. What leading lady, even if she were the savior of the world, I'd have to call in the Buddha himself to deal with her. 3 hours later, the tutoring session was over. "Don't worry, sis, give me a month, and I'll have him so full of himself he wouldn't look twice at a goddess." The college girl took the thick stack of tutoring money I gave her, and her smile became even more radiant. For the next 2 months, the college girl would come to tutor Tang Song every weekend. Beyond just academic tutoring, she would also talk with Tang Song about life and dreams. She told Tang Song that life held infinite possibilities, and she connected him with friends from all over the world. Some of these friends studied the stars in the desert, while others caught crocodiles in the rainforest. Others were teaching in Africa as volunteers. In those days, Tang Song's eyes sparkled every single day. "Could you buy me a telescope? Nothing fancy, just a regular one." Tang Song stood by the sofa, looking a little embarrassed. "No problem, I'll buy it for you tomorrow. But what do you need a telescope for?" "To get a better look at someone else's paper during an exam." "Tang Song, I just want to look at the stars. I wonder if my mom is one of them." Me. Now it was my turn to be embarrassed. 9. Mr./Ms. Tang Song, we need you to come to the school. On Monday afternoon, I was at home with a face mask on when Tang Song's homeroom teacher called me. As soon as I stepped into the office, my breath caught in my throat. Wang Wen-yun, the female lead, was there too. "This can't be right, Mrs. Tang. This is a critical period for the college entrance exams. I never expected Tang Song to be dating this early." "Teacher, Tang Song keeps bothering me and it's affecting my studies. Could you please move him to a different class?" the female lead said in a small voice. Smack, in a fit of anger, I slapped Tang Song on the back. The homeroom teacher quickly grabbed my arm. "Mrs. Tang, no matter how angry you are, you mustn't hit the child. I shook her off, grabbed Tang Song by the collar, and demanded, if you're going to have a puppy love, fine. But how could you pick some scrawny little brat? Don't you have any standards? I was absolutely furious. Once this is over, I'm making that college girl refund the money. The homeroom teacher was stunned by my words. Mrs. Tang, how could you? The female lead shot me a resentful look, but I ignored her and continued berating Tang Song. You're an embarrassment. With all the girls you could have, you chose her. I wasn't pestering her. She took my notebook and read it without my permission. Those letters tucked in my notebook were for my pen pals abroad, not for her. Tang Song finally spoke. To provoke the male lead, the female lead deliberately got close to the villain, who was too clueless to appreciate the situation. The villain was just pretending. He was secretly thrilled when the female lead took his things. The barrage comments left me perplexed, unsure if what they said was true. Who are you trying to fool? Who still writes old-fashioned letters these days? A simple text would do, and a pen pal from abroad. You think your letter would even get there? Wang Wenyun said sarcastically. I let out a bitter laugh. Not only are you ugly, but you're also uncultured. Do you even understand the significance of a handwritten letter? Is this really the female lead? Even I, a random bystander, have more insight than that. With Tang Song's permission, the homeroom teacher and I opened those letters. Every single word is written in English, and not one of them is for Wang Wenyun. Tang Song, no wonder your English has improved so much lately. So you've been writing letters in English. Keep it up. The homeroom teacher was very pleased. Wait, weren't those letters supposed to be love letters from the villain to the female lead? Wait, the plot's changed. I'm confused too. Isn't the villain supposed to be in love with the female lead by now? Wang Wenyun scoffed and turned to leave. Don't you dare move. Apologize to my son right now. I grabbed her by the hair. The homeroom teacher came over to pull me aside, trying to reason with me. Mr./Ms. Tang Song, she's just a girl. Tang Song is a boy. He won't stoop to arguing with a girl. Oh, so that's how it works, huh? I rolled up my sleeves, ready to take a swing at the homeroom teacher too. Tang Song pressed my hand down and said with determination, I want her to apologize. In front of the whole class, hearing his words, I could finally set my mind at ease. 10. Don't worry, I'm not going to get into any puppy love. Right now, my only goal is to get into Tsinghua University. As I was leaving school, Tang Song made a point of catching up to me just to say that. I felt a wave of complete and utter relief. Looks like the money spent on that women's university wasn't wasted after all. Throughout his 3 years of high school, Tang Song remained a diligent student, yet, alongside his studies, he also enjoyed playing basketball and participating in outdoor activities. Just like any other kid his age, he even signed up for a marathon. While he didn't place, he persevered and finished the entire race. Although he still doesn't call me mom, our relationship has grown to be much like that of old friends. Wishing you a triumphant start. You're definitely going to ace this exam. If you don't, I'll buy you a spot on the day of the college entrance exam. I made a point of buying and wearing a cheapao, holding balloons and a banner. I stood at the school's main gate, cheering him on at the top of my lungs. Wang Hohot, you've embarrassed me so much my face has left the country. Tang Song was at a loss for words, caught between laughter and tears by my grand display, yet a warm smile still graced his face. In early July, Tang Song received his admission letter from Tsinghua University. This time, he had finally achieved his dream, and for once, no misfortune stood in his way. The male lead was also admitted to Tsinghua University, topping the provincial entrance exam as the valedictorian. This time, however, Tang Song didn't seem to care much. I went with him to his mother's grave, where he burned a copy of his acceptance letter for her. So, what do you think? I did a pretty good job raising your son, didn't I? Considering all the trouble I went through. How about sending me a dream sometime and telling me the password? In the brief lull while Tang Song was setting off firecrackers, I quietly whispered to the villainess. Throughout his 4 years of university, Tang Song thrived, and he stopped paying any mind to the male lead's affairs. Every day was a whirlwind of attending classes and joining various clubs, even busier than high school. Wait, that can't be right. How come the antagonist didn't even react when the female lead confessed to the male lead? Last time he saw the male and female leads eating together in the cafeteria, he didn't even react. So what exactly is the problem here? I want to start my own business. After graduating from university, Tang Song came to me and said, he pulled out all his design sketches and business blueprint, hoping to make a name for himself in one fell swoop. Here we go. Looks like the plot's looping back. The villain startup ran into a financial crisis, leaving him over 100 million in debt. He never recovered from that blow. He still wanted to prove himself through this venture, to outdo his father's company, but ended up with nothing. Even a random bystander got dragged down, saddled with debt and left sleeping on the streets. Holy crap, that's absolutely out of the question. 11. Tang Tang, listen to me. The year you got into university, I bought a round-the-world travel package. Cost me 300,000. Now that you've graduated, we need to go on that trip, pronto. Otherwise, it'll expire. I support your plans to start a business. You can get right on that after we're back from our travels. Using a mix of coaxing and trickery, I managed to get Tang Song to go abroad. As the saying goes, you never know how much debt you're truly capable of until you start your own business. Even though I'm a wealthy nobody, I can't resist the siren call of entrepreneurship. Living on the streets is absolutely out of the question. While we were traveling, Tang Song told me he wants to start a company and eventually surpass his father's business. Without a word, I dragged him off to see the pyramids in Egypt. He said he'd make everyone who ever looked down on him regret it. Without a word, I pulled him along to see the penguins in Antarctica. Wang Hohot, it's been 2 years since we left. Don't you think it's time to end this? Standing at the foot of Mount Fuji, Tang Song finally couldn't hold it in any longer. I bought a ticket for tomorrow. It's been 2 years, we've traveled halfway across the globe, and the financial crisis is finally over. It's the perfect time to go back and see how things are. The moment I stepped off the plane, I spotted the female lead, Wang Wenyun, waving to us from the arrivals gate from a distance. You two aren't. I was completely stunned. Could he still have feelings for the female lead? Tang Song shook his head. I don't know. I haven't seen her since we graduated high school. Just as the two of us walked out of the gate in a daze, Wang Wenyun came up to meet us. Tang Song, long time no see. I knew you were coming back today, so I came specifically to pick you up. She walked towards Tang Song with a smile, but I hip-checked her out of the way. Of course she's the female lead, willing to cozy up to the villain for the male lead's sake, hoping to beg for his help to save him. It's all that villainous father's fault. He didn't mess with his own son. But he pushed the perfectly good male lead to this state. Thankfully, the male lead still has the female lead. Her love for him is the real deal. It's so touching. I only found out from the bullet comments that during the 2 years we were gone, the male lead, Chi Ming, had been starting his own business. It was growing rapidly at first, but then the financial crisis hit, and he ended up 30 billion in debt overnight. For the next few days, Wang Wenyun showed up at Tang Song's place every single day, refusing to leave him alone. Tang Song, it's only now that I've come to realize, it's you I truly love. I know you have feelings for me too, you're just insecure. I know all about it, huh? I thought she wasn't genuinely in love with the male lead. What's this all about now? I'm confused again. The female lead is definitely doing this on purpose. She wants to sacrifice herself to help the male lead, I guess, maybe, probably, right. The barrage comments aren't as certain as before either. They're just as confused about the female lead as I am. Tang Song, I was completely deceived by Chi Ming before. I thought he was a good man, but it turns out he's just a scumbag. Back in our second year of high school, he tried to pressure me into doing things I didn't want to do. After we got together, he even hit me. Sobs, bang, Tang Song opened the door and stormed out. I tried to stop him, but I couldn't. Tang Song, you finally agreed to see me. I knew you liked me. Wang Wenyun beamed with joy. Chi Ming, did you hear all of that clearly? Tang Song called out towards the corner. The male lead is here. When did he arrive? Oh no. The male and female leads are going to misunderstand each other now. Everyone, I just went back to check the author's latest update. This Wang Wenyun isn't the female lead, she's the villainess. Huh, is the author out of their mind? It's getting late, and the female lead still hasn't shown up. 12. Wang Wenyun, I expected a lot of people to kick me when I was down, but you were the last person I thought would do it. Back then, it was you who pursued me relentlessly. You got me drunk and then accused me of taking advantage of you. How can you turn around now and pin everything on me? Chi Ming's face was deathly pale, and he seemed to be in a very poor mental state. It seems this incident has hit him extremely hard, coupled with his girlfriend's betrayal. It's a devastating double blow. Wang Wenyun was initially flustered upon seeing Chi Ming, but quickly regained his composure. Chi Ming, you can't even save yourself right now. Stop meddling in other people's business. Tang Song and I are the real deal. I love him, and he loves me. If it weren't for a mangy dog like you getting in the way, we'd be married by now. The villain must be gloating now. He's finally gotten what he wanted. Seeing the male lead humiliated like this, I've been overshadowed by the male lead my whole life, but now I'm finally getting my moment in the sun. But Chi Ming is the male lead. How did things end up like this? This plot is so confusing. Tang Song sneered and said, I never liked you, not even a little bit. If you come to my house and bother us again, I won't hesitate to call the police, get out, I added, seeing the opportunity. After we drove Wang Wenyun away, Tang Song invited Qiming to stay for dinner. He cooked a few of his signature dishes. I never knew you had this talent. Not like me. I was always just buried in my books. At the dinner table, Qiming couldn't stop praising Tang Song's cooking. Tang Song. You know, I've actually always envied you, ever since we were kids. I envy that even if you didn't get into a top school, it wouldn't be a big deal. Your mom never forced you to study. Back in middle school, when she came to school every day to bring you food and drinks, I was so jealous I could have died. Even though I was adopted by a wealthy family, all he ever did was force me to study and make me bring him glory. He had no affection for me at all. After the meal, Qiming opened his heart to us. I never imagined the main character's life could be so miserable. Honestly, I don't want to go to school at all. I don't want to take exams, and I don't want to be the top scholar. I just want to go out and play. Qiming had too much to drink and became increasingly talkative and unable to stop. Tang Song had no choice but to help him to the guest room to rest. I was binge watching a show in the living room late at night when Qiming woke up. Auntie, I'm so sorry for the trouble I've caused. He is very polite, like Tang Song. He too deserves a wonderful life. As I saw Qiming out, I quietly whispered a few numbers to him. Then, I said goodbye with a smile. 13. A month later, Qiming paid off all his debts and vanished from the public eye. No one knew how he managed to clear that sum. However, the jackpots for those consecutive lottery draws were all won by a single person, leaving netizens green with envy. My child, I am your father. After Qiming disappeared, Tang Song's biological father, Qi Yuansen, came looking for him. I was just so angry back then. You know what your mother was like, selfish and stubborn. She was responsible for your Aunt Xiaoshua's death. I felt I had no other choice. Every time I see you, I'm reminded of your mother. And thinking of your mother makes me think of your Aunt Xiaoshua. I simply can't face you. Dad is old now. And you're my only child. Everything in the Qi group will be yours one day. As for that Qiming, I never once considered him a son. He was just a tool I used to motivate you. The sheer shamelessness is truly unmatched. I'm absolutely in awe of this old man's audacity. Calling him argumentative would be a compliment. Are you finished? Don't think that just because my mother is gone, you can stand here and twist the truth. I was too young back then to understand what was happening, but I've spent the last 2 years investigating everything. And now I know the whole story. My mother suffered and struggled with you, building everything from scratch. Then, once you had money, you ran into your old flame, abandoned my mother, married her, and even had the nerve to call my mother a vicious woman. You're the one who caused Aunt Xiaoshua's death. 2. You wanted to take her family fortune for yourself, and you even drove her father to his death. Every word Tang Song said shocked me. When did this kid learn more about all this than I did? I'm just a background character, but I've got the power of bullet comments on my side. Wait, this is different from what we saw before. Did the author change the story again? I have no idea either. This completely blew my expectations out of the water. Shoo, just keep watching. This is even better than before. So even the barrage doesn't know everything. What nonsense are you spouting? I'm your biological father. How can you say that about me? Qi Yuansen said, furious and flustered. Tang Song sneered. And that's not all. I'll have you locked up very soon. You think you can take me? Don't forget, I'm your father. If a son wants to challenge his old man, come back in 30 years. Qi Yuansen quickly composed himself, dismissing Tang Song's words as nothing. And me, Qiming appeared at that moment, holding a USB drive in his hand. It wasn't until the police cars arrived that Qi Yuansen realized it was all real. 14. After Qi Yuansen was imprisoned, I finally learned the whole story. Back then, Qi Yuansen lied to Lu Shui, claiming he was unmarried. It wasn't until 6 months after they registered their marriage that Lu Shui discovered the truth. At that time, Tang Song's mother, Tang Yuding, had also found out.